also, I can't find the email to do it. I followed them on Twitter. Maybe I can like check Facebook or Instagram to where I can try to message them privately, but I want to get in touch with I forgot what company it is, but they make like the A10 headset, but it's like the Breath of the Wild Zelda branded headset, like it's officially
I've seen
Nintendo
those.
licensed.
Yeah.
And I want to get in touch with one of them to get it.
Astro Gaming.
Yeah, that's it. Is it the A10?
Nice.
I think it's the A10. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the A10 Zelda edition.
Like these
Breath of the
people,
Wild.
they were supposed to send me a headset a long time ago, but they ended up not doing it, probably because I just never messaged them back. But
Jesse,
because I really like
your PR person.
Yeah, I really like the headset because it is headphones that people actually use in like recording studios where sound actually matters, to where like most people just buy the cheaply made Turtle Beach headsets because like they're the most popular brand, even though they're not necessarily the best, because GameStop sells them and promotes them with Walmart and everyone. They're just really popular, even though they're not amazing. They're just expensive, so, and they are comfortable, but the actual quality of the sound and microphone and everything isn't that great. So I emailed them and was like, hi, I'm tired of like seeing people do like let's plays or streams and stuff, and they're using like crazy expensive but low quality headsets when there are companies like Audio Technica or Shure or some of these other companies that actually make high quality products at lower costs, because they're not selling them to gamers who just want an edgy looking headset. They are selling them to like actual recording studios and stuff where quality actually matters. So like if it's good enough for your favorite musicians to record their voiceovers or band or whatever, then it would be 10 times better than anything that you would get for gaming. So, and then he was like, I really like that idea. But then like Audio Technica only made 2 or 3 different types of gaming headsets, and they were all like $200-$300 headsets.
They know the market, I guess.
Yeah.
We're all suckers.
Oh, Don's here. Hello, Don. How are you? Hopefully you're doing well. I voted for you, Jesse. Thank you. Yes, so later on, before we get to the mailbag, probably, I'm going to read off a few of the random tweets that I got with people sharing their stuff, because that's what I said I would do in the video. So that's where we're going to do it, and we'll go over information for the signed copy of Breath of the Wild giveaway that we're going to do, and talk about some news and other stuff. So, yeah. Are we ready?
Yeah.
I haven't really done the podcast in like 2 weeks.
What?
Oh, should I turn my light off?
Yeah. No, keep it on.
No.
You're disappearing. Better. Now put another one on.
I don't have one.
Just get it. Go to the store.
Yeah. Sure
Go,
thing.
Jesse. Come on.
Alright.
So Elgato needs to send you one.
Elgato?
Oh.
Yeah. They have a new. They have a new
lights?
light.
They have
a studio light.
That's news to me.
Elgato sent me this, but I never did a review on it.
That's a good one.
I think I recorded the video on it, but I never actually edited and uploaded it, which means it probably doesn't exist now because it's on a hard drive somewhere lost in time.
I've got the one prior to that one. The HD, not the HD60.
Yeah, but that one you can plug in the RGB cables, I think.
Yeah, which is actually why I bought it instead of buying the HD60 one, because it's HDMI only on the HD60, and I was like, but I want to play my N64. So
I have my Stream Deck Mini, which is fun to use. And I have the standard size too. I have the Stream Deck Mini for sounds.
It's good. I have none things. I don't have things.
Fortnite
I don't own a single thing.
Why are people this is a Zelda podcast, not a Fortnite podcast.
That is true.
Some of
Zelda,
us do play Fortnite.
A little bit of Nintendo's.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we can start, right, guys?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
We had 2 guests drop out on us. But to be fair, they were
two
like very
co-hosts.
last minute. Yeah, that is
two
right.
non-guests as well.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we've had enough time for people to come in. So, hello everyone. I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as all of you may know me. Here with us is Gibbs and Daniel for episode 71 of the Hylian Gamescast. Today we're going to be talking about some cut and canceled content from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, such as the Kokiri Champion and the entire Kokiri race that was replaced with the Rito and the Koroks in Breath of the Wild. We have a very stupid, obvious, clickbaity headline from a website, sort of like the same type of thing that we do with
those lists.
Yeah, the lists that people send us, to where they're like, this is top 10 confirmed Zelda theories, and I was like, none of these were confirmed. Like, these are just dumb, like they contradict each other. How could they all be confirmed if like they... Anyways,
top 10.
So
Top
it's
10
basically like
confirmed.
that. Yeah, it's
Either that or it's
and
confirmed, but it's not a theory. It's just it's just an occurrence.
Link's dead, Majora's Mask confirmed.
No.
Exactly.
Not.
No.
But yeah, the article says, what is it? Like it's from an actual popular website, but they have the headline of the article as Breath of the Wild sequel confirmed in all capital letters, and it's like 2 paragraphs into the article, they literally state that it's not confirmed. They're just going by speculation. And then it's like, why do you have it in the title as confirmed in all caps if you literally say it's not confirmed? Like, the websites, it makes me mad, because it's like... yeah.
Head shake.
Exactly. And then Daniel's going to be telling us all about Metroid Prime 4, and I have some interesting thoughts on that as well, as I'm sure some of the other people here do. We're going to be explaining the Breath of the Wild giveaway. We are giving away signed copies of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, signed by the voice actors Zelda, or Patricia Somerset. She will actually be selecting the winners when she comes back on the podcast in a month or so.
I probably should have known that already.
Maybe. It's, when you are on one of the most popular Zelda podcasts in the world, and you have the only real voice actor for Zelda coming on the podcast, it might be something that you want to be aware of.
Yep. No, I know she's coming back. I just didn't know she was gonna select the winner. But
no, so that
is good.
Yeah, we'll get into more details of it later. But basically, we're giving away the signed copies. So far, it's going to be signed by Patricia, or Zelda. It's going to be signed by Rivali, the Deku Tree, and is it like Rivali's son, or I don't know what.
Teba. Who's it's not his son. He's a Rito person though. But Sean.
Yeah,
Sean Chipblock.
Sean does the voice acting for all of those. And Joe, possibly Joe might be signing it as well. I still need to catch up with him. And it would just be too expensive and time consuming to like send a bunch of Zelda games literally across the entire world to get everyone to sign it. So we may just stop with those 2 or 3 people, but if the opportunity arises, then yeah, we will have it signed by as many people as we can. One of the copies is going to be given away to our Patreon supporters as an exclusive thank you to them. And a second copy is going to be given away to people who ask questions on the last video that we had with Patricia where she was on. And the idea is she will go through, pick out 5 to 10 questions that she likes the most, answer those questions on the Zelda mailbag for that episode. And then after she answers all of the questions, she will pick her favorite question, and whoever she chooses will win the second copy. And then we have a competition that you can help me win, and if I win it, I will be so ecstatic that we will be giving away 2 more copies of Breath of the Wild. Another for Patreon supporters and one for the normal giveaway as well. So 2 to 4 copies of Breath of the Wild, which I think, yeah. No, I'm trying to think. Like I was at GameStop a few days ago, and they had the Explorers edition, which is basically the same price, but it actually comes with the book and other stuff that the original didn't come with.
It's really nice. That has a nice fold-out map.
Yeah,
I can get it. I've got it right. Got it behind me.
Yeah, so it's basically like just a collector's edition or special limited edition of Breath of the Wild. So
very nice.
We'll be giving away those, but yeah. So we'll get into all of those details later. I'll have links and the description and everything for the edited version of the podcast, where you can just go and give Zelda your question. And in the video that I posted earlier today, I kind of explained that whether you win the signed copy or not, the fact that the voice actress for Zelda is reading off your question is basically a win on its own.
Yeah.
So, getting a shout out from the voice of Zelda and having your question read live is pretty cool. So yeah, basically let's get started. I'm just rambling now. It's been like 2 weeks since we've had the podcast. So I guess we can start with the Kokiri Champion, right?
Yeah, let's start with that. I think that's right on the top of the list there, so
yeah, we don't need anything to do that.
I mean, actually it's number 2 on the list, but number 1 is blank, so I guess we'll just start there.
Alright, so
you can do it, Jesse.
No, I was thinking there's something else that I wanted to do, but I have to do it in post. So it is a thing I seen on another YouTube channel, to where like at the beginning of a video they ask a question for people to answer, and then whoever gives the best answer gets a shout out in the next video.
Oh, neat.
And then they give another question to help keep the people commenting entertained. So I may do something like that, to where like we just come up with questions, and then before the video starts we'll just be like, in the comments, tell us what your favorite dungeon item is or whatever, and then everyone will comment what their favorite is, and then in the next video we'll give whoever had the best answer a shout out and another question. So yeah. But anyways, we're gonna go to the news, and then we'll do the information on the signed Breath of the Wild giveaway, and then we will go to the mailbag and end it. So yeah, alright. Hello everyone and welcome. I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse as all of you may know me. Here with us is Gibbs and our amazing co-host Daniel. Yes, Geek Apprentice Hookshot. She's ready for the giveaway. Also, oddly enough, this box that I got for you, because I sent
Secret
Daniel and Kayla
box.
the other stuff, it literally has Hookshot written on it.
It is Hookshot.
So
it is a Hookshot.
I guess it is maybe more than a coincidence. I don't know. Anyways, So in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, a lot of the returning races, like fan favorite races, made their return, like the Zora, the Koroks, the Gerudo, the Rito, the Gorons, but the
other one too
that was absent was the Hylians, because they were all dead. No.
They were gone. They were all dead.
Yeah. No, so the Kokiri were absent, but from interviews before the game actually came out, and then we actually seen images and concept art of it when Creating a Champion book came out. But Nintendo originally had the idea to include the Kokiri race. The Kokiri would have had their own champion that would have replaced the Rito champion. But then a caveat to this was, because they had no Kokiri in the game, there were no, or because there were going to be Kokiri, there was going to be no Koroks, which kind of brings up a bit of confusion later on, because I think Nintendo's thought was, we can't have Kokiri and Koroks in the game.
Yeah.
But then they ended up having the Rito and the Zora, which are basically the same thing, one being an evolution of the other. So I don't really know why they didn't include it, but originally, instead of finding 900 Koroks everywhere, you would have had presumably the same amount of fake Master Sword pedestals, or pedestals of time, similar to, in the interview, Aonuma mentioned it was similar to A Link to the Past. The Lost Woods had the fake sword pedestals, to where you would go through and you would try to be finding the Master Sword, but you would find these fake pedestals. And they actually reused the exact same goddess pedestal that they had from Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
For some reason, I think a very smart decision on their part, they decided that it didn't make too much sense to have hundreds of pedestals just all around Hyrule for no reason. Maybe if they had them all set up in the Lost Woods in the same way they did with A Link to the Past, then they could maybe have like a dozen fake pedestals to where like you have to go through, and if you try to get the wrong one, then it'll just kill you. Kind of like when you try to pull out the Master Sword in Breath of the Wild, you need to have a certain amount of hearts where it'll kill you.
Does it kill you like you imagine it kills you, like it just explodes and you die?
No, like
like you just you just pick it up
no
and
matter
then like
how
just
many no matter how many hearts you have, you just can't take out the sword. Like it's there to like deter away evil. So basically,
you keep trying and it just drains your heart slowly.
Yeah, kind of like, but you just never pull it out. Like it always inches out to maybe make you think, oh, well, maybe if I upgrade, get another heart or two, then I could pull it out. And it's not until you find the real one to where, or like maybe you do something to unlock something and then all of the fake ones disappear and you're able to see the real one. I don't know why, how they would have implemented it. That's the best case scenario that I could imagine for having the different pedestal of times throughout Hyrule or just the Lost Woods, and that's strictly based on what they did with the Master Sword in Breath of the Wild and how they had the pedestals in A Link to the Past. But presumably they would have been spread out all across all of Hyrule, and then maybe that would have been interesting as well, because then like you don't know where the Master Sword would be located because there's pedestals everywhere. But anyways, they ended up replacing that concept with the Koroks, which is kind of fun because it gives you little mini puzzles to do, throwing rocks or solving like trees or whatever it is. Like there's some neat ones to where you have to move blocks to solve puzzles, or you have just like a bunch of different little puzzles that you have to solve. That it's really cool.
Like throw the rock in the rock circle.
Yeah, which honestly I think is a better idea than just having like, oh, there's a fake pedestal randomly.
There's another one.
Like,
yeah, I think that would get pretty boring.
Yeah, like why are they here? Who knows?
Like even with the Korok seeds, like there was a pretty limited amount of diversity. There was like maybe 6 or 7 types of Korok puzzles. And then if there was like even just only one thing instead, like that would just be,
yeah,
well, that would just be boring. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So they ended up replacing the Master Sword pedestals with the Koroks, and presumably with the Koroks in the game that led them to think, okay, well, if there are Koroks, then we can't have the Kokiri. So they ended up scrapping the Kokiri forest, turned it into the Korok forest. They scrapped the Kokiri Champion, gave us not a Korok Champion, but a Rito Champion. And then the Rito were added to the game as well, because originally the Rito weren't in the game. The main item that the Kokiri Champion had was a whip, which I guess is a callback to Wind Waker, because on... no... Is it Dragon Roost that you get the whip? I forgot where...
Dragon Roost, you get the grappling hook. There's no whip in Wind Waker.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There's a whip in Spirit Tracks and Skyward Sword, though.
Yeah, but it's used the same as the whip in Skyward Sword.
Pretty much.
Because, like, you throw them on the... like, the piece of wood or, like, the lever that's sticking out, and you can either pull the lever back or use it to swing back and forth. So, yeah.
The grappling hook is better, though. There's just more you can do with it, in my opinion, but...
Yeah. And the another item that is on the same image or the same page that they showed that didn't make it into the game was the hook shot, or the claw shot, whatever variation they had. It was the original weapon of the Gerudo Champion before they replaced it with just a boring sword.
No, it's a fancy sword. It's not boring.
Debatable. But yeah, like they said that they took out the hookshot because it made the game, like, I guess they thought it was too powerful or whatever, to where you would just be going through the game. They gave the example of Link basically being Spider-Man, just grappling on anywhere that he wanted to. So they replaced a cool item with the fancy sword, as Daniel says.
The only problem I find with that is that you always needed something wood to hook onto.
You got wood today.
Yes, I did. I'm building a new desk.
Yeah.
You could use that to hook onto it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I don't think the desk will hold me up, but I can try it.
It's worth a shot.
It's worth a hook shot.
It's worth a hook shot.
Yeah. But I mean, in Breath of the Wild, there's so much wildlife and so many trees and houses and stuff. Like, I think there's enough wood in the game. It's not a sentence.
Also, it would have been really cool if like an enemy popped up to where they had a hook shot, and then they could hook onto you, and if you have a wooden shield or something, maybe it would, like, pull you towards them to where, like, you're stunned for a second, or it would take your item away, similar to when you use the hook shot in... Or is it the hook shot? What weapon is it in... No, it's the grappling hook.
In Majora's Mask, I think you use the hook shot for...
Yeah.
Wind Waker, you can take items from enemies. Like, they'll give you joy pendants.
That is the grappling hook.
Yeah, so maybe, like, if there's a Yiga member, they could use their hook shot or grappling hook. And if you don't have a shield or something that would pull you towards them, maybe they would take, like, your banana or something.
Not bananas.
Yeah, so basically that's the concept. Kokiri were originally in Breath of the Wild, replaced by the Korok. They decided they did not want a Korok champion, so they gave us a Rito champion, because they could not have Kokiri and Koroks in the same game, because Nintendo doesn't think that makes any sense. Yet they gave us the same evolution of the Rito and the Zora in the game, which is literally the same thing as going from the Kokiri to the Korok. So I don't.
But they also gave us bananas in the game, so.
Yes. They also took out the Minish, another forest. Type of thing.
Daniel's gonna die.
I like the Minish. They're a really neat race, and
yeah,
I think Breath of the Wild's pretty big already. Shrinking Link down, just
they didn't want to. Okay, so imagine how big Breath of the Wild's Hyrule is already. Imagine shrinking down to the size of a Minish, and then having
too big.
a world that's 100 times bigger to explore.
This is too big.
Yeah.
Too big for me.
But yeah,
imagine
Gibbs.
trying to climb the highest mountain as a Minish Link.
Oh, you're froze, Gibbs.
Tiny.
Your video.
Yeah, there you are.
Oh, you're back.
Okay.
You're back.
Okay.
You've snapped back
So
to
tell
reality.
tell us your thoughts on all of this before we move on to the next thing. Froze again.
Am I good?
No, you look frozen. Yeah.
Or either that or you're just really good at sitting still.
Now you're
gotta try
good.
it.
All right.
Yeah, I've been sitting here for an hour. You haven't noticed me. I can move really slowly. No. Okay, you don't catch it. Okay, I'm good.
No.
Anyway.
we got the
I was
reference.
thinking-
Avengers.
I was just trying to sit still.
Okay, my bad. Alright, getting back into subject. I kind of wanted to see the Kokiri back, to be honest with you. The Koroks doesn't really do it for me, even though they have the little nice side quest of finding 900 Korok seeds, and if you do...
You did twice.
Because I'm stupid, I know. Anyway. I was bored, okay?
Oh, Gibby.
It's interesting just going around the entirety of Hyrule just to get those seeds.
I mean, did you use the Korok mask at least?
Nah. They're pretty easy to spot.
I mean, yeah, they are. Like, I think without using it on my last playthrough, I still got about 600 of them without even really trying to look for them, like without going out of my way. I would just see it and I was like, okay, I'll get it. But I mean, even still, I explored like the whole map. I felt like I was tripping over them every 10 feet and I was still missing like 300 of them. So
the Kokiri, I think they have a bigger, more lore to them, or it's a race that actually I would like to see around or back into
Do you
the
mean
series.
more lore compared to the Koroks, or more lore compared to the other races, like Gorons and things? Because the Gorons,
I mean, as in compared to the Koroks.
Okay.
Even though the Koroks are supposed to be the true embodiment of the Kokiri, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, we know the Koroks are transformed from the Kokiri.
Yeah.
Like we actually witness that evolution, but we never witness like the evolution from, like, one of the books says that the Hylian, the Hylian children ended up becoming the Kokiri, but then there's other examples to where it says the Koroks became the Kokiri, and then they just took on the form to help Link while he was in Kokiri Forest. So this is another example of the books being wrong just because they're but continue,
constantly contradicting themselves. So yeah, it's one of those things where I don't know why I just like the Kokiri more than the Koroks, but I digress. Let's go back into the hook shot not being there, or the whip not being on there, because traversing Hyrule as it is with the paraglider, it's actually pretty cool. But imagine you're able to actually hook shot from tree to tree, or from the plains or anywhere else.
Hook shot. Or if you could like you know, when you're on the paraglider and then you let go and you pull the bow out and it goes into slow motion, but that with the hook shot, and then you just go shooting across somewhere.
Or
that'd be real
you know,
cool.
the whole like they did in Batman Arkham series, where he is gliding and he uses his grappling gun and just shoots straight up again, get a little bit more airtime. That would have been cool. But whatever, Nintendo, thank you. It was still a good game.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about the Rito were introduced to replace the Kokiri Champion, and we ended up getting the the flying bird Varuto, or no?
Bird.
What was it?
Meadow.
Meadow was the...
Yeah.
Meadow.
Yeah, so what kind of divine beast do you imagine for the Kokiri, and where would it have been? Some people suggested that like a Korok champion would be introduced as DLC for Breath of the Wild, because it was like the only race that we had that did not have its champion. So some people thought maybe there would be like what's his name would be like the Korok champion, the one that you trade all of this stuff to. I forgot his name. Yeah, Hestu. Okay. Just because he's the one that stands out.
The champions were in the game chosen by the royal family as people who are like very skilled, either skilled warriors or otherwise in their races, right?
Dance.
Most okay, Hestu.
No. So here's the thing.
Hestu has an unusual mastery of the maracas.
No, so here's the thing. And when people are like marching out for war and everything, like when you see like older takes on wars, they have the soldier drummer boy, right?
Okay.
So like Hestu could be like the maraca to like get everyone's battle spirit up.
The actual problem with this, as funny as that is, though, is that the most Hylians, Link is kind of the exception. Most Hylians cannot even perceive the Korok's presence.
So they would be invisible. They could just do an all-out attack on the Yiga, and they would be.
They're invisible to Hylians. Like
it would be like a million tiny John Cena's attacking the Yiga clan.
Oh no. Anyways, I think it's same with the Kokiri, is that most people didn't think they even really existed in the era.
Okay, Daniel.
Outside
Here's
of the
real question, and this is so I need to interrupt you for this. Would you rather fight against a bunch of tiny Korok-sized John Cenas or one John Cena-sized Korok?
Is this the duck-sized horse versus horse-sized duck scenario? But
yes,
but with John Cena and Korok.
Because either way, they're going to be invisible. So, because John Cena and Koroks, they're both invisible to normal people. So
I feel like one John Cena-sized Korok is basically Hestu.
Yeah.
Yes.
But this would be a more aggressive. This would be a more aggressive Hestu.
That's who I choose, because you can, like, I don't know, like swarms of things are very scary to me. You know, like I see, like there's this level in Donkey Kong Country Returns, and there's like a swarm of spiders that chases you. That shit keeps me up at night. Okay, like swarms of things, like swarms of bugs and things like that scare me. So like a swarm of 100 little John Cenas. I just imagine I'm trying to run away from them, and I'm like climbing a tree to escape, and just a bunch of them just start like climbing up the tree after me.
No, so they have Abigail in the chat says she's dying laughing. So you're talking about spiders, like in Phantom Hourglass or No Spirit Tracks. They have the giant spider that like chases you from through the tunnel.
One giant spider, not that scary.
But in like,
a million tiny spiders terrifies me. That's so scary.
They had it in the Deku Tree to where like 3 or 4 spider eggs will like fall down and hatch baby spiders.
That's not a swarm.
But then Twilight Princess has it to where there are like tons and tons of them. So
still not as freaky, I guess. I don't know, because you can go in and just but like in the Arbiter's ground in Twilight Princess, there are those certain areas, there's those like swarms of bugs that cover you and they cause you to walk slowly. Those don't even really damage you.
They are annoying.
They are so like just from a visual standpoint, for me, that's so much scarier. I don't know what it is, just it just gives me those heebie-jeebies. Yeah.
All right. Do we have any final thoughts on this before we move on to the next one?
I think also part of the thing with the Kokiri versus the Koroks is like, I think a lot of people have more of an emotional attachment to the Kokiri because not just nostalgia, but also like their role in the game. Compare Wind Waker versus Ocarina of Time. Wind Waker, the Koroks are basically a pit stop race. Like, you come in, the Koroks got a problem, you go solve the problem, you leave. Come in, the Rito got a problem, you solve the problem, you leave. You know.
Wait, that's they give you the seeds in Wind Waker, don't they? No. So like
no, I mean there's some
they're
side
trying
quests
to
that involve
grow
them.
the trees
They're trying to grow the trees,
okay.
and so like there's some side quests that involve them, and there's Makar and everything. But I mean their relationship with Link is very insular in the same way that other races are in other games. Like, you know, you go to Death Mountain, Goron's got a problem, you solve the problem, you leave, and you go to the next place, right? That's where the Koroks, your relationship with them in Wind Waker. And Breath of the Wild, they're basically like a Easter egg. Like, you find them all everywhere, a little secret, like plot MacGuffin sort of thing, right? The Kokiri in Ocarina of Time, they're your home race. Like, they're your village of people. They're your best friend, your childhood friend is Saria, who's a Kokiri. So like there's a lot more emotional attachment there because the game from its start is grounded in that small community that you're having to embark out of. So I think that's why, for me at least, a lot of times when there's almost like I want to see that sort of that Kokiri race come back, because it's like, as I think conceptually I like the idea of the Koroks more because they're more unique, but there is definitely like a stronger emotional attachment to the Kokiri instead of the Koroks. Thank you for attending my TED Talk.
All right, so what kind of divine beast would you imagine?
I actually think that Varuta would have been a Kokiri divine beast, and that we see the concept art for like a giant whale one, and that would have been the Zora's one instead. And that when they
the elephant would have been the Kokiri.
Elephants are not that really water themed. Like, they're not really water themed. They can have water-ish features.
I'm pretty sure in some type of mythology they have some correlation with water.
Sure, but like everybody drinks water. I think possibly that, or Valmetto before the Rito were introduced were probably Kokiri as well, because with a lot of the Kokiris, what they're associated with, like as far as all the elements go, wind been an association with them. The Forest Temple was kind of combined with the Wind Temple in Ocarina of Time, for example. There was the Forest Medallion has a wind symbol on it. The Koroks use wind to travel, like they have their little propeller leaves, and the Wind Sage was a Korok as well. And so there's a bit of a correlation with the wind there, and Valmetto is essentially, well, Wind Blight Ganon is the elemental boss you fight, right? So probably makes sense in my head that
basically
may
Mega Man.
Yeah.
No, like when I think, because he has like the cannon blaster with his arm, so like it just makes me think of like a stereotypical Mega Man boss.
Mega Man. But yeah, I think it's probable that may have, like, before they introduced the current lineup of champions, that either Valmetto or Varuta would have initially been assigned to the Kokiri champion. If Varuta was, then I think that sort of cut concept art of the whale divine beast would have been for the Zora. But you know, things got shifted along. But it makes sense as well that they kind of replaced the Kokiri's presence with the Rito anyways, so it makes sense that they would take on that role of the wind-based race. Plus they're bird.
Link should have used... No, I guess it would have taken... Like, you wouldn't have necessarily needed it, but I imagine, like, the Koroks had, like you mentioned, the leaf they would spin around that would, like, lift them different places, which is basically the same thing that Rivali's Guild does for you. And then in Majora's
That's
Mask, when you become a Deku, you basically do the exact same thing. So
yeah.
I guess they are like interchangeable to where like you can either be a Deku and like shoot up in the air from a Deku plant, or you could be Rivali's Gale or have Rivali's Gale and it literally do the exact same thing.
I miss the Deku as a race as well. They were also really neat and unique.
Yeah.
Sort of a rival forest race.
Yeah, but it would have been a lot better instead of having those annoying Octoroks all over the place.
Yeah, they could have had the Octoroks still, like, in the water and everything, and some of them on land, but I feel like the Octoroks that we see on land in Breath of the Wild and in Skyward Sword are, I was like, these are basically Deku scrubs, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, and then they could have just used the same Divine Beast and just like changed some of the puzzles around to where instead of whatever, it would use like a whip, like you would need to use a whip or something. I don't know. Anyways, Gibbs, you get the final thought before we move on to
final thoughts.
Yeah.
Now that we've spent like half an hour on this topic.
Yeah.
So
I would have liked to have that well implemented into the game somehow.
Yeah.
The one we see on Hateno, is it?
The Ancient
Hateno
Tech Lab.
Yeah. Hateno Tech Lab, I think it is. The Ancient Lab is for Robbie.
Yeah, the Akala. Yeah.
Anyway, somehow, yeah, there's that correlation with the wind that Daniel was pointing out. So maybe Van Meadow would have been, even the name, it's referring to Meadow from Meadow, from Wind Waker, which was a Kokiri. Kokiri turned into the Korok, so...
No, they don't.
What?
You're telling me a magical elf child can turn into a wooden, invisible John Cena creature?
Yes.
Alright.
Because magic.
And I bet you're also telling me that a fish can turn into a bird.
Because... science?
Yeah. Alright, no, finish what you were saying though, Gibbs. Before we move on, I'm trying to find, for the people in the chat, I'm trying to find the concept artwork so I can show you guys the Oh, Gibbs has it. There we go.
Winner!
Can we make you bigger? Yeah, there we go. So we have Link with the short sword, great sword with the weird looking Goron, spear with the Zora, the little whip with it's a tiny little Kokiri person who doesn't look like a Kokiri child. It looks like an adult Kokiri. And then we have the male Gerudo with the grappling hook. That is the same one they have from Spirit Tracks. Who's the bad guy in Spirit Tracks? Do you guys know who I'm talking about?
Chancellor Cole, and then there's the Burn guy.
Yeah, I think it's Burn. He has a similar weapon to where he has like a weird hook shot, grappling hook thing.
Does he? He's got his little hand thingy.
Yeah. And it's the same thing that Gerudo has. So it's interesting that like even the lesser played Zelda games, like the DS ones, still had things carried over.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Gibbs.
So yeah, like I was saying, there's the agreeing with Daniel, there's that correlation, so maybe that was supposed to be for them. And I don't know, maybe even the Ritu wasn't supposed to be in there. But God knows. Only Nintendo knows. So yeah, I think that implementation on that or the concept art of the crab. There's that giant crab Divine Beast concept. I think that would have been pretty cool to see on there. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Nintendo.
All right,
Next game. Bring the hook shot.
Daniel, would you? We can move on to your Metroid news.
Yes, let's do that.
Metroid.
Metroid. So, to do a new intro, or do you want to just hop right into it? What do you want?
You
Jesse?
can just hop into it. I can put like our own little intro whenever I do the question for it.
Cool.
At the beginning. So
great. Yeah. Well. Yeah, guys. This news comes from the most reliable source about Nintendo games, Nintendo themselves. So you can watch the video on their YouTube channel, and it's a very, like, 7 minutes long, I think. Very down to earth video, but the gist of it. So Metroid Prime 4 has been officially delayed. And the reason that they've told us, rumors aside, is they are saying that, the development, they've been spending the last 2 years on it since they showed it off at E3 of 2017, and they are just not satisfied with the product. So they're bringing Retro Studios back on. They're completely scrapping everything they've worked on for the last 2 years of development and just restarting from the beginning over again. And so it's still going to be a little bit before Metroid Prime 4 comes. A lot of people were thinking it was coming this year or next year. Evidently, that's not going to be the case. We may be looking at another 2-3 years or so as an estimate before it comes out. So, yes, that's the news. There's a lot of backlash about it. A lot of people on Twitter complaining, saying they're very upset about it. The Nintendo maybe should have had Retro on from the start, which maybe is true. People are disappointed. Personally, I think they made the right move, and I think I guess I'm a patient person. I'm willing to wait a few extra years, like we did with Breath of the Wild. We waited an extra 2 years for that to come out, and the game is better off for it. And Nintendo's commitment to quality really shows here. And I think if you watch the video, you can really see this is not a decision lightly to just throw 2 years of work in the trash and start over. But you can see their commitment to quality really shine through there, because they're not going to release a game that's half-baked. They're not going to release this game if it's not up to their standard. And think about the worst Nintendo game, your least favorite official Nintendo game, and think about that. That was up to their standard. So do you want a Metroid Prime game worse than that? Think about that for a minute. But really, it's I think it's a good thing overall that they made it was a hard but I think necessary choice just to make the game better for it, because you have to be honest, if their game is not going to be good, they shouldn't ask us to pay for it and release it. They should start over, work on it till it's fixed and better, and go from there. So a lot of people are asking for the Prime Trilogy in the chat here. I hope they do HD Trilogy to make the wait easier to deal with. I wouldn't be surprised. They gave Metroid Prime Trilogy a second life on Wii. They did that with the Breath of the Wild. They had a ton of re-releases between Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild for older games, so I wouldn't be too surprised if that were the case. But yeah, what do you guys think about that? Jesse, you said you had some thoughts.
Yeah, so yeah. I don't think this is necessarily them completely starting from scratch, because a couple of things here is, at the end of the day, like Miyamoto and the other people that are like actually in charge of most of the stuff going on at Nintendo, they are the ones that give the final approval on everything. Mm-hmm. And you could have a really great Samus character model with really great armor. You could have really great like levels or designs, weapons, stuff like that, that at the end of the day, again, whether the actual gameplay it's used in is good or bad, the actual design choices and everything have to be approved by like Miyamoto and everyone. So like when you're first beginning a Metroid game, the most important thing at the very beginning is getting like a Samus, like whatever space suits attachments you're going to have, getting the actual main character design looking good. So with the people up above, the mystery development team, I don't think they actually said who was in charge of developing it. Did they? The original that they canceled?
I'm trying to think.
I did not.
I can't think of it.
Yeah.
I remember on Discord someone mentioning that it was someone in particular, but I don't remember who. And I don't remember Nintendo ever actually saying that it was. I just remember them saying that it wasn't Retro Studios, which makes me wonder what Retro Studios has been working on all these years, and if that's gonna get delayed as well because of it. But
yeah, but Gibbs has some input. But
I was gonna say real quick. The rumor is that it was Bandai Namco on one of their branches.
Yeah,
but I don't think so. I think Bandai Namco would have already mentioned something, or would have been part of the teaser trailer or something.
I think from the start they would have said if it was Namco,
especially that big of a company. So it might have been a smaller developer on the. I mean, it's possible it could have been Nintendo taking a leap and like just trying out a new studio, and
like they did with Prime, where they just put together an entirely new studio because no one else wanted to take the risk.
Yeah, and it's just like you're the Metroid guys now. No one else is gonna do it, so it's up to you guys. Just Cliff. A wild Cliff appears.
Yeah. So with what?
And goes.
My thought on it was, there he is. Hi, Cliff. Right. Cliff. He's probably getting everything set up. But my thought was basically a lot of the fundamental like foundation stuff that they created, like character models, certain level designs, the actual game engine they're using, the lighting, all of that stuff, the very basic stuff from the game. I think they would just be able to reuse some of that. They could go in and completely change what Samus, like the suit, what everything looks like. I mean, it is possible they could go in and just redo absolutely everything. But again, at the end of the day, all of the character designs and everything would have needed to be approved by Miyamoto and all of these other people. Like, we've seen that even with complete third-party Nintendo games, like the Mario Rabbids crossover game. They had Miyamoto was in complete control over it. Like, he had to approve absolutely everything. He had it so that none of the guns looked too realistic. He made sure the character model looked like it was a Nintendo quality character model. With Aonuma and Hyrule Warriors, it was the same thing, to where it was the third-party team, I can't think of it, Team Ninja or whatever, that was actually developing the game, Koei Tecmo, I think, whoever it was. But anyways, they were developing the game itself, but at the end of the day, like, they had to report in to Aonuma like every other day and be like, this is what we've made, this is the updates we've had, this is what we're working on, and Aonuma would say yes or no. So with this game, Metroid, I think it would be basically the same, to where Miyamoto or whoever at the end of the day would have the final say, to where the gameplay itself could have been what was completely horrible, but the character models and everything could have looked good. Otherwise, Miyamoto or whoever would have went in and like made it themselves to have it be the quality that they want. So I think that Retro Studios aren't necessarily starting from absolutely nothing, but are starting from like, they're basically getting the foundation of what the game was, and they're just like maybe keeping 10% of it and then going from there, which they could like update the character models themselves. But the good thing that comes from this is, in the meantime, when Breath of the Wild was delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed, Nintendo did something awesome and released Wind Waker HD and released Twilight Princess HD and
Majora's Mask 3D.
Yeah, but I think that was in development as soon as Ocarina of Time 3D ended. So I didn't do that. While it did release. It did release while Breath of the Wild was being delayed, but I don't think it was necessarily released because Breath of the Wild was delayed, to where Wind Waker HD, they specifically stated, because Breath of the Wild would take so long, or Zelda Wii U at the time, that they wanted to, instead of just giving us like 4 to 5 years of absolutely nothing, they decided, well, we can, since we've never worked on an HD game before using this game engine, we can take a game that we already know, Wind Waker, which they also experimented with Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword. There's a really cool like teaser image where they have all 3 Links standing beside each other in the same engine, which is really cool. But they had the experience from Wind Waker HD. So like the year or however long it took for them to work on that actually sped up the development time that it was going to take to develop Breath of the Wild, because instead of starting from absolutely nothing and learning how to develop for the Wii U on its own without any prior experience with the brand new engine and a brand new game, an open world game and everything, instead of doing that from no experience at all, they could work on Wind Waker HD, get familiar with it, and then instead of getting one game in 6 years, so like instead of having 5 or 6 years with absolutely nothing and then getting Breath of the Wild at the very end of it, we got 2 separate games, Wind Waker HD, and then because they worked on Wind Waker HD, that helped them speed up the development time of Breath of the Wild. So basically, instead of getting one game in like 5 or 6 years, you would get 2 games in 4 to 5 years. It's because it didn't necessarily take time away from getting Breath of the Wild, because they said it actually helped speed up the development time, because they needed Wind Waker HD to learn how to actually develop for the Wii U, because it's easier to take something and apply it to the Wii U that you already knew instead of starting from nothing. But anyways, that's a bit off topic. I think maybe they could do something with the Metroid trilogy in the same vein that they did with Wind Waker HD, to where maybe it's not Retro. Maybe Retro already worked on the Trilogy HD thing, and now they're like, okay, well, you finished the Metroid Prime trilogy. It looks great. This other development team that's working on their own Metroid game is doing not so great. So since you made the first 3 and now the trilogy presumably might be close to being finished, you can just start on the actual Metroid Prime 4, and in the meantime we'll give everyone an HD collection. Or maybe it's Tantalus or some other studio that's developing Metroid Prime, who knows?
Yeah.
Because Tantalus, I sort of believe it would be Skyward Sword HD, or just a port of Twilight Princess HD for the Switch. But Tantalus, we had the news article a while back where they confirmed that they were working on unannounced Nintendo games for the Switch. So like HD remasters or remakes for the Switch. Which is basically all that Tantalus does, is HD ports and stuff. So they did say they were working on something that was unannounced, that we didn't know what exactly it was. Even since then, it's still unannounced. We still don't know what it is. So it could be anything from Mario Galaxy to Skyward Sword to Metroid Prime Trilogy or whatever. Anyways, I'm rambling. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to say that it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, there is that thing that everyone quotes from Miyamoto where he says, like, a delayed game, like a rushed game is a bad game forever, but a delayed game could eventually be a good game or whatever. Which
apparently he didn't say, according.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it is always getting passed around, but at the same time, I think of Majora's Mask, which is at the like whether you personally hate the game or you love the game, Majora's Mask is pretty close to the top of most people's favorite Nintendo game or favorite Zelda game. So, like, the entire reason that game exists is because it was rushed from the very beginning. Aonuma had a deal that if he could finish the game within a single year, then they could work on it, and he made the deal. They finished the game within a year. They released it. Wind Waker, another great game, had similar development to where Majora's Mask released in 2000, and then they had the HD, not the HD, they had the Gamecube demo that looked like an enhanced version of Ocarina of Time that was shown at Space World 2000. Shortly after that, they began development of Wind Waker, and then Wind Waker released at the end of 2002. So like within 2 years, Wind Waker was released from when it first began, and which it released in 2003 in America, but it released in 2002 in Japan. So that game had 2 years, and it was rushed because there were dungeons and entire villages that were scrapped from that game because they couldn't finish them in time, and what they had just made the game seem like boring or whatever it was. Like you said, it didn't really fit in with what was there. So instead of delaying the game to fix it, they're just like, okay, well, you get to this island and the island is completely destroyed. So
plot twist.
Yeah, so Wind Waker, another game that Miyamoto was in charge of with Aonuma, that was again completely rushed. The entire purpose of Wind Waker and Majora's Mask, the reason they turned out like they did is because they were rushed. It wasn't really until Twilight Princess that the games ended up being delayed for a long time, because Ocarina of Time took a long time because it was their first 3D Zelda game, and it had like 5 different variations. Like it started out with like a Zelda 2 remake in 3D, which had like that really weird character model that I don't think anyone liked from when they first showed off the Nintendo 64. But that game took a long time to make because it had different versions and stuff. And then they made Majora's Mask in a year. They made Wind Waker in 2 years. And then it was not until Twilight Princess, which took like 5 years, and then Skyward Sword took 5 or 6 years, and then Breath of the Wild took another 5 or 6 years. But it wasn't until those games that Zelda started taking these really long development cycles, because even Zelda 2, I think, was made within like a year or whatever.
Something like that, yeah. It was pretty shortly after.
But yeah, basically what I'm saying is just because a game is delayed doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be better than it would have been, and just because a game is rushed doesn't mean that it's going to be better than, yeah, because there's a lot of people that hate with a passion Twilight Princess because it's too dark, too moody or whatever, or they hate Skyward Sword for whatever reasons because it's too painted like, or the motion control. Yeah. Despite the story and Skyward Sword being really good, there are people that just hate the gameplay or whatever, and those were Zelda games that were delayed for a long time, and they would prefer playing games like Majora's Mask or The Wind Waker, which were the exact opposite, where they were rushed and put out in less than half the time. So yeah, the delayed game thing, like the quote from Miyamoto, whether or not Miyamoto did say that quote, he doesn't even follow it because he's rushed out games to hurry and get them out instead of delaying them. But yeah, anyways, yeah, you guys can take it from here. I'm done ranting.
Yeah. I mean, there's some merit to the idea of the quote, even though it's not actually something Miyamoto said, but he, like, I get the idea behind it. You know, if something's not good, instead of just rushing it out and getting it, you know, it's probably a better idea to just delay the game to fix it. But, you know, that's just,
is Cliff
it's
here?
so broad. It's, I don't know. Hey Cliff, he doesn't show us online on
He
Discord.
literally, he just wanted to like have his presence.
Hey guys,
here.
how's
Okay,
it going?
there.
Hey, you are here, man.
Hey, I'm like setting up right now.
I was gonna like make the joke. You just wanted to have your name featured on the podcast.
Yeah.
You didn't really want to be here talking.
Yeah, I'm like, hey guys, I'm here. Like my face is like nowhere to be seen right now.
Your icon's here.
Yeah,
Though.
I was thinking like I might be able to do my webcam, so I was trying to set up. But
Yeah.
I was gonna mention though what Jesse was talking about Metroid Prime is that I don't know if you guys mentioned this, but it was mentioned on Twitter like earlier this week that apparently I guess the reason why it got quote unquote canceled is because I guess they were trying out this new development system using ad hoc, and I guess how they would do it is like have different development people like work on the game separately. So I guess there wasn't really great communication with that.
Well, they did that with Breath of the Wild, and it ended up being really great because they had their core Nintendo Zelda team, but then they also had a bunch of people from the Xenoblade Chronicles team.
Monolith Soft.
Yeah, and they were in like a completely different studio building, and Breath of the Wild turned out to be amazing. So I guess it's just like sometimes that can be good, sometimes it can be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I am excited that they are bringing back Retro. I think Retro should have been, like, they should have been working on the game to begin with.
I agree.
I think it was it confirmed to be Bandai working on it?
No,
That's
it was
what
just
I've
a
heard, but
It was rumored.
yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
yeah. But I agree. Like Retro probably should have been working on it because if there's any studio that has like a bang up, awesome track record, it's
especially
Retro.
with Metroid Prime.
Yeah, especially with Metroid Prime. But
Yeah, so Daniel, you were in the middle of talking, but I went to Retro's page, their wiki page, just to see if like it had been updated for Metroid Prime 4 or to see what they had been working on. And like it has Metroid Prime 4, but it has like TBA, and like it doesn't even have the director listed for the game.
oh wow.
So yeah. But anyways, Retro Studios, for those who don't know, we were talking about this before the podcast began. The reason we never got a Metroid game on Nintendo 64, which we have a really cool video covering the top 5 canceled Metroid games. Nintendo wanted really bad, like Nintendo literally begged development teams, third-party teams, and their own development teams to make a Metroid game for Nintendo 64, but nobody wanted to do it because nobody, like, they had seen how Mario converted to 3D, they had seen how Zelda converted to 3D, they had seen how these other games converted to 3D. Nobody really understood or thought about how a Metroid game could convert to 3D. Even with Metroid Prime series, like I think Miyamoto was hesitant about the way that they began developing it with like that first person perspective, because like the whole point is like how's he going to like curl up into a ball if it's first person, like there was that whole weird thing. And then like there's the quote where he mentioned something about like having a bug head, and no one really knew how to take that, and then they decided it's just like a HUD display or what, I don't know, it was really weird. But anyways, no one wanted to make Metroid Prime or Metroid on Nintendo 64. So whenever the GameCube began development, Nintendo ended up just creating their own team and forcing them to work on Metroid, which became Metroid Prime, because none of their own first-party teams wanted to be the team that like screwed up the franchise. No third parties wanted to do it. Like no one wanted to take the risk and be the studio that got fired because they ruined Metroid. So it took Nintendo literally creating their own team to do it. And then after Metroid Other M, it was probably the same situation to where like no one wanted to take the risk in making another bad Metroid Prime game or another bad Metroid game. So they ended up making this new studio that's a mystery that no one knows about. It was probably the same thing, to where they were hoping it would turn out to be really great, and then they would have like a Retro Studios 2.0 on their hand. But
Yeah.
Anyways, Daniel.
And I was looking on that wiki page as well, and all I can find is that Bill Trinen had said that Metroid Prime 4 was being developed by a talented new development team, and not who that team was.
So it was a new development team.
Yeah, so, or at least that's what it says, talented new development team. So, yeah, I guess they were just taking the plunge, and this time, it didn't pay off. It just didn't work this time, but other times, I mean, it has. They've done that. But,
I mean...
Yeah. I mean, Retro's got a great track record. They are the people for this job. The games they've worked on, Metroid Prime, Donkey Kong Country Returns, and Tropical Freeze, and Mario Kart 7. Those are all, they did a bang-up job with every single one of those games that they've worked on. So, yeah, I've got faith. I've got faith in Retro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no doubt that they'll do good with this. I know that people have like posted online that that some of the people, like some of the core people who worked on Metroid Prime left to work on other projects. So it is going to be interesting to see like how this game would be compared to the other ones.
Yeah, but at the end of the, like what I was saying earlier is like it all needs to be approved by like the same group of people. So like they have the same main producer working there that worked on the old games. It's like with what was it? Rare Studios. A lot of the developers are still working at Rare that worked on like Banjo-Kazooie, but then a lot of the developers like made their own studio, which is how we got Playtonic Games with Yooka-Laylee. So it's like there are like the teams basically like instead of the one full team, it's like 2 or 3 teams that have newer people or whatever. But anyways, what I was going to say earlier when I raised my finger because it popped in my head, Reggie Fils-Aimé at E3 a few years ago was being interviewed, and they asked him about Metroid Prime 4, and this was before the Switch was even really announced or anyone knew what it was. And he said that with Metroid Prime Federation Force, like his exact quote was, "We know that Federation Force isn't the Metroid game that fans want," which implied that they did know what Metroid game fans wanted and were also working on it, but they weren't ready to announce it yet, which ended up being true because whether or not it was in development at that time, they ended up announcing it like a year or 2 later. I don't really know when Federation Force released compared to the Prime 4 announcement. But yeah, even back then when the game first, Federation Force was announced, Reggie hinted at Prime 4 being a thing. And they were probably like looking at, in the same way that Aonuma looks at Triforce Heroes, or looked at Triforce Heroes like an experimental handheld multiplayer Zelda game, as whether or not to pursue a multiplayer home console game. Maybe Federation Force was the same thing, to where it was a handheld experimental multiplayer Metroid game to see if it did well enough, and if it did, maybe they would have used elements of that for a multiplayer Metroid Prime 4, which Prime 2 Echoes had multiplayer, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Yes, very limited.
Yeah, it wasn't co-op, it was like versus, wasn't it?
Shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Hunters did have like a full online thing.
Wait, what? Hunters?
Yeah, on the DS.
Hunters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny though, with Federation Force, it was released in 2016. Samus Returns released barely just slightly over a year later.
Yeah, just give us Samus
so it was
Returns.
like August 2016. Samus Returns came out September of 2017. So that very well may have been what Reggie was referring to
Daniel,
as well.
Call Miyamoto, your best friend, and just tell him we want.
No. Every time I call him, he just sends those Nintendo Wii commercial guys to my house.
We want Federation Force HD.
He just sends those commercial guys to my house.
We do not.
They knock on the
Samus,
door and they just go, "We would like to play."
If they have the master file
It's not 2005 anymore.
If they have the master file for Metroid Prime Trilogy HD or Samus Returns HD, just tell him, just delete that. Delete it. Give us Federation Force HD. That's what we want. Not Trilogy HD. The only true Metroid Prime game is Federation Force.
I know his plane, but it still gets me angry.
Oh no. But then they announced oh goodness, Jesse. They announced Metroid Prime 4 in 2017 as well. So it's unfortunate because a lot of the backlash about Federation Force was people being like, but we want a real Metroid game. But then I guess at that time it was very likely that they were working on both Metroid Prime 4 and Samus Returns. And if they had just told people that, no one would have been as upset. They would have just been like, okay,
this has
we got this
Metroid
until
game.
the new one. You mean Metroid?
Yeah. This has a cool Metroid game.
It's just a true story. I really like Metroid games, but Metroid for the NES, I hate it. I really do. There's so many things wrong with it.
All right, let's try to hurry up and get through this because we have the other things that we need to talk about. But yeah, for everyone, I was joking about canceling the Prime trilogy.
Abigail, and it's just Federation Force HD is what the fans want.
Oh my god.
That's what Reggie really meant.
Yes, thank you.
Federation
Abby.
Force is not what the fans want because it's in standard definition.
Oh my god.
No, it's not even in standard definition. It's in 240p.
At like the wrong time, to be honest. It's a good game. It just came out at a bad time.
I agree. It was a timing issue, and I think if they had fans, they're like, hey, we're releasing Metroid Prime Federation Force, but don't worry, because next year Samus Returns is coming out, and then we're also working on Metroid Prime 4. No one would have been angry. They'd been like, cool, Federation Force is coming out. Next Level Games is working on it, while Nintendo and this other mystery studio work on Samus Returns. Great. Everyone's having a great time. I'm all happy about it. But instead, everyone was just angry.
We went like an entire decade, or the better half of a decade, with no Metroid announcements. And then within 2 years, they're like, you get a brand new multiplayer handheld Metroid game, you get a remake of a classic Metroid game, and you get the very first original HD Metroid announcement. That would have been enough to like make anyone that's a Metroid fan happy. So
Oh yeah.
yeah. But finishing up, Cliff, since you joined in kind of late, what are your thoughts on this? And then we can go to Gibbs, and
Cliff.
We can try to get through the other news stories. Really
I mean,
quickly.
like at first when it was first announced, it was a shock because I didn't really see it coming. Because I know a lot of people were predicting that this game would probably come out either late 2019 or early 2020, and it was something that I was thinking about. Like, it seems like the right time. It's been like 2 years. It might be possible that the game might come out this year. So it was a shock, but I understand that things happen in development, and sometimes you might need to refresh the drawing boards. So I mean, as long as it's going to like give us a better product, then that's I'm happy for it.
Completely agree.
Yes, 100%.
Right. Gibbs, do you have final thoughts?
I'm happy that Nintendo actually stepped up to the plate and said, "Hey, we messed up. We're starting from the beginning again." However, I don't think they're scrapping everything completely. It's more of a whole, more of an oversight to say we're scrapping everything, starting from scratch. I think that's a whole overstatement. Because I think character models would have already been done, maybe some world models or anything, if anything, and Nintendo might have been like, hey, here is a basic physics engine for Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey, retweak it for it.
So Nintendo did say I don't mean to interrupt, but I remember they said that I hate when people do that. I just did it.
What? Oh, that's
yeah. Whenever like people on a like you'll watch random YouTube videos of people that don't really know how to like talk on the video. So before every sentence, they'll do that to where they're just like. I guess it's like a nervous thing that people do.
Just give me a little smooch.
Yeah, but it's people in an interview with me. I don't know if it was Awada or Aonuma or Miyamoto or who it was, but it was someone who was like in charge at Nintendo. I want to say it was like maybe Fujibayashi, the director for Breath of the Wild. But anyways, someone said to recuperate some of the lost cost for delaying Breath of the Wild over and over and over again, which I don't think they have to worry about now because I don't think they expected it to sell as well as it did.
Yeah, they did good.
So they probably made back all of their money, but they said they were going to use a lot of the like the new developing tools that they came up with and the new version of the engine, which the Breath of the Wild engine, it began as the Zelda Wii U tech demo, and then it kind of evolved a little bit into the Wind Waker HD, and then it evolved again into what we now have as Breath of the Wild. And even the main physics engine that they used wasn't even like Nintendo had almost nothing to do with that. That was the Havoc engine, which is like the same physics engine that's featured in tons and tons and tons of other games. But the main actual engine for like the lighting and everything, the movement and stuff, Nintendo did come up with that themselves, and they did say that they were going to be using a lot of the technology and a lot of the engines they created to use for other games, which made me think maybe they would use it for like Mario Odyssey or maybe Metroid or whatever else. So
right, they did for Mario Odyssey though. It is the same engine. So yeah, that's
I could see that
credibility to your words having.
Well, it wasn't my words; it was the other people's words.
The words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So yeah,
Gibbs.
to finish up here, I do think there might be Metro Prime coming, Metro Prime Trilogy coming. I mean, why not? It's going to sell well, especially because a lot of people already got rid of their Wii U's or Wii's.
Why?
Yeah.
Not everyone. Not
It's
everyone,
the only way you
Daniel.
can
Not
play
me.
Wind Waker HD.
So, I think it's somewhere down the line. I don't think it's completely out of the picture, especially because it's going to be a fourth installment on a bigger story. So I think maybe just to refresh and hold other people up, other players, they'll release at least Metro Prime 1 and then 2. Even if it's a staggered release, I think that it would be also a good investment if it's not just one overall.
Yeah.
Just one copy.
I
So
agree.
yeah.
And for those wondering, it's right now is the best time to get a Wii U because everyone's selling theirs to go get a Switch. And so if you wait too long, it's going to become a novelty item and collectors are going to be buying it, so it's going to go up in price. So
Get the Wind
best
Waker
time to get a
edition.
secondhand Wii U, everybody.
Wait, there was a 3DS for your house? What? You-
that's kind of what the Wii U is. I mean, yeah.
Without the 3D.
Without the 3D. Yeah.
Well, there's the news story that we are omitting from the podcast, but it was basically Nintendo patented something for a new console that would make your TV display the same type of glasses-free 3D technology.
Neat.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That's pretty cool. There's basically
never
like a
used
tech
the 3D.
demo on. I don't know if it's on YouTube right now, but there's like a demo of somebody using a Wii remote to do the same thing that was in their pattern, like have like 3D without glasses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting.
I've seen that.
I've seen
That,
you.
yeah, and it was really oh, okay. Did you know that if your Wii sensor bar breaks, you can light 2 candles and put them
Yeah, I did.
in front of your TV, and it will.
And hopefully not burn your TV.
Don't burn your TV though, but it will work. So I think it's a good time to move to our next topic. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, Jesse, take us away.
Do you want to do the news for the game? The Zelda like
game.
Yeah, just talk about it.
You know, the game. Is that the one? Okay.
I don't know which one you guys picked. The wind water
I
game?
do. Windscape. Yes, we picked that one. Okay.
So yeah, just read it like a normal news thing.
Here's an article, everybody, from NintendoLife.com. Nintendo Life's place, by the way. Open world adventure Windscape is an homage to Zelda and arrives on Switch this March. So everybody, if you're looking for a good game to play in March, that's not already all the Switch games that already are out that you can play. Here's one for you. So the article goes, Head Up Games has announced that the upcoming open world adventure game Windscape will launch on Nintendo Switch on the 27th of March, releasing a brand new trailer in the process. I watched the trailer. It's actually a lot of fun. It looks like a very fun little, I don't know, almost like cel-shaded. It reminds me a bit more Elder Scrolls meets a bit of Minecraftiness, but like not quite so Minecraft in your face Minecraft. But yes, Windscape is a first-person exploration adventure set in a world made up of floating islands in the sky. The game is heavily inspired by the likes of Legend of Zelda, Secret of Mana, and Golden Axe Warrior, all of which are loved by the game's developer, Dennis Witt. The following message was shared in a press release today. Ever since my childhood, I was a huge fan of the Zelda series of games, Golden Axe Warrior, Secret of Mana, and games in which let you explore a vivid world without time pressures and a too restrictive storyline. Over the past year and a half, I've been working on my vision of a modern exploration adventure, combining it with my fondness for modern crafting and sandbox game. You'll be meeting up with peaceful NPCs on each island's overworld and vicious monsters in the dungeons and layers within. While the island works in a non-linear manner, the dungeons are more puzzles and combat-driven. Each with its own style of atmosphere. Combat has a focus on tactics and figuring out the enemy's patterns rather than brute force, and you'll be facing all sorts of enemies like ghosts, ogres, onions, dragons, and more. Yeah, and there's some, I'll post a link to the article in our live chat here so you guys can look at the pretty pictures. But it's nice looking.
Yeah, it's definitely, if you are a fan of Zelda games, there are some really awesome 2D Zelda-like games, such as Blossom Tales, we've actually, for like the past couple of weeks, we've been aiming to have the main director of Blossom Tales on, but we can't even figure out our own schedule, so trying to schedule someone else is a bit difficult. Because we literally don't know when we are going to do the podcast until about 10 minutes before we do it. So
it's true.
Yeah, like I asked Gibbs literally right when I found out when we were going to be doing the podcast, and I asked who was it, Maya and Holly, which Maya was busy because it was her first time streaming again. Holly said that she had just taken off her makeup, or she would have joined, and then Cliff.
She could join it. She can put like a bag over it, or just like this. I don't know. Or she could just use her face. I like her face too. So.
And then Cliff, we didn't even bother asking him to join until we were already in the middle,
halfway through.
Like, oh hey guys, how's it going?
We're really bad at this.
Yeah.
#1 Zelda podcast in the world, guys.
And yet,
this is the type of professionalism. No, okay. So yeah,
Oh.
the game. If you are a fan of Zelda-inspired games, give this a try. Go watch some trailers for it. It looks really great. Hopefully, we can have a review of it or something coming up sometime. Maybe we'll have just a review discussion. I don't know, but it's really cool.
Yeah, I saw it on Steam. I just checked it out. It looks really interesting.
You look interesting.
And
How do you know? We can't see
I
him.
don't.
yeah, you can't see me. I was just about to say something, but never mind.
Yeah.
But it does look really interesting. I agree. It's got a really neat design, and then in the trailer there's a couple seconds of combat that it shows, and yeah, I don't know. It feels like a game. There's not a lot of, I probably only really get excited about my 20% of game trailers that I see, but this one actually really piqued my interest. Looks like just something in a nice little, I don't know, nice little diversion. Yeah. What? Press 1 if you want webcam.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
So, I think that's really all that we can say about that game until we actually play it. But I just wanted to bring it up because with this being a Zelda podcast, anytime there is a Zelda-inspired game made by people who are fans of Zelda, like all of us, I want to try to give them a shout out. But yeah, so what else is there? The Clickbait article, right? That's our last piece of news? Okay. I'll do this one. Express.co. Okay. Hello everyone, I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse as all of you may know me. Here with us is our friends Just Cliff and Mr. Gibbs.
Hello.
We also have our returning co-host, Mr. Bergerson, or Capt. Bergerson. Today we have a really odd article. I hate articles like this. It's basically non-news is the best way I can put it. It is... It could probably just be called straight up clickbait, very similar to when we get... A lot of people like to send us articles and stuff from different websites where it's like top 5 confirmed Zelda theories, and then they talk about stuff that no one has ever confirmed or even thought of, like I don't like, it'll be something stupid like Korok transforms into
a banana
confirmed. And it's like, no, that's don't be stupid, like you can't.
What happens next will shock you.
Exactly. So Express.co with this line of thought decided to write an article by Liam Martin, it says here. But they say, Switch Games News. Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel confirmed ahead of Nintendo Direct.
Confirmed in all caps,
yes,
by the way.
Confirmed is in all caps. And then even adding onto that, it says confirmed ahead of Nintendo Direct.
Which
this
never happens.
This was published like 2 or 3 days ago. This was published January 31st.
Yep.
And then they even went back and updated it a few minutes later after it originally published. So keep that in mind. It says, Nintendo Switch fans have been treated to some fantastic games news ahead of the rumored Direct conference. The next Legend of Zelda game has been confirmed by Nintendo, who are hiring more staff for the project. With production, now the hiring more staff is something that we already knew from a while back. They are always hiring for new projects. If you follow them on Twitter, every single day they post like a different webpage for different people they are trying to hire to fill different positions, not just for Zelda, but many other games as well. But it says, with production ramping up on the potential Breath of the Wild sequel, Nintendo has posted a new Legend of Zelda job advert. The Japanese job advert via Gaming Bolt is for a 3D terrain designer on the new game. A previous advert called for someone with experience in creating consumer games, which suggests the new release is for consoles. Nintendo making games for consoles, guys. Who would have thought? They really thought this was newsworthy.
I can't believe it. Game company is making games.
Yeah. Here's the big shocker, okay? So their headline, again, Switch Games News, Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel confirmed, in all caps, confirmed, ahead of Nintendo Direct. A few paragraphs down, like not even 5 sentences down, it says, it's possible the next Zelda will serve as a sequel to Breath of the Wild, although it's likely to be a brand new entry.
Hang on, Jesse. In the next paragraph, it says there's a slim chance that the new Zelda game could be unveiled during the January Nintendo Direct conference, and it goes on talking about that. This article was published on January 31st.
Yeah, the article published on January 31st. And this is why I mentioned they went back to update it. Because they could have been smart and just removed all references to a January Direct, or simply changed it to a February Direct. But they didn't.
Nintendo never said they were having a January Direct, though.
Yeah. But they, like, even if they were wrong about that, which obviously they were, they could have went and updated it to just not mention the Direct, or change it to a February Direct. But the way they talk about it, as if the Direct was confirmed, and then Nintendo confirmed a Breath of the Wild sequel before the Direct actually happened. But then in their article, they say it's possible that it could be a sequel. Yet in their title, it says a Breath of the Wild sequel is confirmed. But then in their actual article, it says it's possible. But then it says it's more likely it'll just be a brand new entry, not a sequel at all. Just another entry, like Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker, or Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, to where, like, technically Twilight Princess is a sequel to Wind Waker because, like, it's a game that was made after, but in the sense of, like, Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask, or even Ocarina of Time to Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, to where those are still sequels. They take place hundreds of years after Ocarina of Time, but technically they're still sequels. Or even a prequel. A lot of people would want a Breath of the Wild prequel, but this says confirmed in capital letters in the title. They went back and updated it on the very last day of January, but didn't even bother removing any of the mentions of the January Nintendo Direct. This is the type of nonsense that gives people like us, who actually go out of our way to interview people who actually worked on the different Zelda games. We've had a few of the different voice actors from Breath of the Wild. Before the podcast, a long time ago, I became friends and had on a couple of videos Mike Drucker, who worked on Skyward Sword. He was actually the person who came up with the name for Groose. All of the Groose is Loose memes, all of the parodies, all of the fun videos and stuff about Groose being loose or whatever, is all basically linked back to him when he was in a meeting and they all decided the English names for all of the different characters when he used to work for Nintendo of America. He also worked on games like Mario Party and Mario Kart, I think. He did a lot of work on Kid Icarus Uprising, or whatever it was called for the 3DS. But he worked on a lot of really great games. He talked about I don't remember if it was like a water balloon fight or like maybe it was a paintball war that the office for Nintendo of America had before they switched buildings. Because I think they were like going to demolish the building, or like they were going to do something with it, and they were moving into a new office. So the entire office just had like a giant paintball fight.
Nuts.
Yeah, at the Nintendo.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so like we actually try our best, and we do tons of research on interviews with Miyamoto and Aonuma and Fujibayashi and all of these other great people. Like, we actually do tons and tons of research for these videos on canceled games and sequels that could have happened, or bringing on people who actually worked on the games to talk to them to get information directly from them, so we're not just talking about stuff like this to where we're just getting secondhand news. We actually like to be the people who are responsible for sourcing the news, that whenever people bring up an interview and they're like, oh, this like a bunch of websites the other day reported on a video that we did where we were just discussing casually like this about the canceled Twilight Princess sequel that ended up turning into Skyward Sword, and part of it turned into Link's crossbow training. There were like dozens and dozens of websites because we were, for the first mention of the sequel in a long time since the actual Iwata asks, or Iwata asks where the information came from. It wasn't built on speculation, it was literally from the mouth of Miyamoto. That's where we try to get all of our information. But then there are these websites like this that are just putting up crappy clickbait that's just embarrassing, and it gives people like us bad reputations. Like, oh, don't listen to YouTube channels in the Zelda community, they don't know what they're talking about, they're just clickbait, because we get stupid people like this that just bring up complete nonsense and in their same article contradict exactly what the title says, just to get people to go in and click on it. And this is how you get misinformation, to where there are the people that believe like, it's okay. We always go back to the stupid Zelda theory of Link being dead in Majora's Mask, despite the creators of the game saying that if you believe the 5 stages of grief, or that Link is dead in Majora's Mask, like, the people who created the game literally saying you are playing the game wrong if you think that. Because there are so many different emotions tied to so many of the different areas, it's not just one emotion for each of the areas. So, but there are people that they look at videos from like Game Theory or MatPat to where they're like, oh, they have millions of subscribers. This video has hundreds of thousands of views. It must be true, otherwise why would he have so many subscribers? And then you get people commenting on our videos where we use actual facts and interviews and stuff given by the people who actually made the games and worked on the games. And there are, like, you'll see comments from people telling us that we're stupid, or that we're posting clickbait because we're saying one thing when they believe something else. But what we are saying can actually be sourced back to the interview where we had with the voice actors from the game, the interviews that I had with the other people that worked on different games, the interviews where we went back and researched the Iwata asks and stuff. Like, there's a few people that have commented on some videos where we did like the top 5 canceled gaming videos, and it's someone being like, oh, well, this thing never existed, this was just made up. And it's like, you can literally look at the video and there's an interview with Miyamoto talking about the game being canceled, but you're saying
honor was spelled wrong.
Yeah.
Honorable.
No, but like it's like you can take someone like, you could say this, I could post a video saying this drumstick was signed by Escape the Fate, one of my favorite bands that I was actually able to become friends with the drummer. We can see the signature right here. I have pictures and everything, videos. I have a podcast. I was on a bunch of their they have their own podcast. I was on a bunch of their episodes.
That sounds fake, man.
They were on interviews. They were on interviews on my channel. I could post one of those videos and there would still be someone dumb enough to be like, this is clickbait, this is made up, you don't know them, blah blah blah. And it's like, you can literally see like the videos there, like they're talking about whatever. I don't know, it's stupid. People are embarrassingly dumb.
Our friend Ilya, the Geek Apprentice, says in the chat, the article sounds like it was style of student who has a 25-page thesis due in 2 days, and he hasn't done any research yet. and I agree.
Yeah.
That's the thing too. Yeah, it's just frustrating too, because not only is this news article that contradicts itself, it makes no sense, but it's also news about something that we've already known about for months. And is like, even if Nintendo never announced that they were working on a new Zelda game or something, we kind of can make the assumption that they are, because every time they finish a game and it releases, they take like a weekend off and then they're starting the next game like right away, consistently.
Yeah.
So it's like it's always a safe assumption that they're going to be working on the next Zelda game.
Yeah, a lot of times they begin the next Zelda game months before the prior Zelda game even finishes, and a lot of times they have 3 to 4 different Zelda games, or 3 to 4 different Mario games. Well, probably like 10 different Mario games, all in development at the same time, because they have all of the different Mario spin-offs, like Mario Party, Mario Kart, Mario Tetris, Dr. Mario, Mario whatever. So they have all of these different, like 10 Mario games in development at the same time. But with Zelda, they always have their handheld team that is always working on a Zelda game. They have their home console Zelda team that is always working on a Zelda game. And lately, they've been having their home console team or their handheld teams working on like 2 different games at once. Like they worked on Wind Waker HD alongside the pre-production of Breath of the Wild. They worked on Triforce Heroes along with Grezzo, who Grezzo was also working on Majora's Mask 3D. At that same time, they had Tantalus working on Twilight Princess HD. At that same time, they had Team Ninja or Koei Tecmo, whoever, working on Hyrule Warriors, who at the same time they were working on Hyrule Warriors, they were also working on the 3DS version, Hyrule Warriors Legends. So like at that one period in time, Nintendo had like 7 different Zelda games all in development at the exact same time. But there's a lot of people that think Nintendo, like, oh, they only work on one Zelda game and they only release one Zelda game every year, when realistically we get 1 to 2 different Zelda games every single year. A lot of people forget Hyrule Warriors released on Switch last year. That was last year's game. Before that we had Breath of the Wild. Before that we had Twilight Princess and Majora's Mask in the same year. So, I think it was the same year. But you guys get what I'm saying. And Hyrule Warriors and stuff. But yeah, basically, we can go to the next news story, right? We don't have to keep talking about this. Daniel, tell us about Dr. Mario World.
Dr. Mario World's coming out.
Our final news story.
that's the news.
Wait, but before we get to that, there was a news story. Like, I literally titled it New Unannounced 2009 Switch Games, because Nintendo had an interview where, guess what? They said they had an unannounced game planned for 2019 that would make fans happy.
Game company is making games?
Yeah, who would have thought Nintendo is working on a game for the Switch that they haven't announced yet? When realistically, they have like 30 different games in development that they haven't announced.
Are you saying the game company makes games often?
But that was another thing that everyone was reporting on this. And it's like, why? It's one throwaway sentence. Like, this is non-news. Like, if you didn't know this, you should be embarrassed. It's like a clothing company saying they're releasing a new shirt design. It's like, well, of course they are. Like, guess what else? Toyota's going to be making more cars next year. Like,
it's... I imagine I used to, for those longtime fans, I used to work in a coffee shop for about 6 years. Just imagine, every morning we'd come out, we'd brew some coffee first thing in the morning.
No, you had a press release saying that you were going to
journalists bursting through the doors. Oh my god, the coffee shop's brewing coffee. And I'm like, yeah, we do it every day. And they're like, get this to the press now. Coffee shop is brewing coffee tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, Dr. Mario World.
Yes. I gotta pull that that bad boy up here.
This is our last news story, guys. After this, we're going to be explaining the giveaway that you can help us with, and the giveaway where we are giving away the signed copies of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Not signed by us, which is what Stealth, I guess, thought on Twitter. But no, it's signed by Patricia and Sean. Sean being so cool, he was the one, like, no one asked him to sign it. He just commented on it and was like, hey, if you send it to me, I'll sign it too. I'm like, that works. Like, sure. That's how cool he is.
Pretty cool. He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
He's a real good dude.
No, he should sign it because he humiliated all of us playing Smash Bros.
Rip.
Yeah.
But yes, this is actually news I saw on Facebook of all places, posted by, again, I think a pretty reliable source, Nintendo.
Never heard of them. Is this a new indie company?
Must be.
They sounds fake, right? They post just to put a little post, like the most low key announcement for a game I've ever seen. Okay, bye, Jesse. The most low key announcement for a game I've ever seen. But they just had this little post. It says the doctor's in. Mario puts on the white coat once again in the mobile game Dr. Mario World, targeting an early summer 2019 release. And then a nice little JPEG of that logo, which is the Dr. Mario pill, and this is Dr. Mario World, but it's like really shiny. Like the pill is like
shiny.
Very reflective. Like it's just a very shiny pill. So, but there's actually if we dig a little bit deeper on Nintendo.co.jp for Japan, one of their corporate releases, they actually filed a mobile game partnership with Line Corporation to work on this. So this is not they're not actually developing with what was the other company? DNA, yeah.
They also have their Pokemon partnership with
Niantic.
Yes, and they also have Super Mario Run with a different company.
Is it? Oh, I thought that was with DNA too. I don't know. Things.
Or no, it was they released the brand new game at the end of the year last year.
They did?
The mobile game. It was like
Dragalia Lost?
Yeah, that. It's like a brand new Nintendo IP, but it's
played mobile games, so I don't know.
Well, see, their big thing was like when they first partnered with DNA, they like pushed DNA as like, this is the company we're gonna stand with. They're experts at mobile games. They're gonna make all of our mobile games, and then they partner with like 5 other mobile development companies.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think like the first one was Pokemon Go. Nintendo stocks soared, and probably everyone wanted a piece of that. They're like, wow, Nintendo rocks the mobile market, and all these mobile, like, I wouldn't be surprised if mobile companies were approaching Nintendo and being like, hey, we like Nintendo.
Oh.
So
also, different news, but goes along with this. I think it was announced in the same press release. Mario Kart World Tour was delayed. Which was it was basically supposed to be like, I guess the same as like Mario Kart 7 or Mario Kart 8, to where like it just looked like they do, in the same way that Mario Run looks the same as the new Super Mario Bros. Like it uses the same artwork and stuff. So I imagine Mario Kart World Tour, especially with the the concept images they released, where it's just the promo art, it looked exactly the same as the promo art for like Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS. And most phones now are more powerful than the 3DS is anyways. Like they can actually display games in HD.
Yeah, but
Manboy Cave
Mario Tour and
what does Manboy Cave say?
Oh, hey, I got the Patreon message today. I don't have Twitter or InstaFame, but I will vote for you guys. You can save this for mailbag question below. And then there's no question below that. But
yeah, give us a question.
I'll give it some time to
yeah, it'll be our first mailbag.
Right at the top. But thank you, the man / Boy Cave. Much appreciated. But yes, Mario Kart Tour was delayed, and it's instead of for April, they're launching summer 2019. So that's this year. So we're looking at about a very similar launch window between Dr. Mario World and Mario Kart for mobile. But yeah, I mean, I really love puzzle games. Like Tetris is my jam. I once played a 12-hour game of Tetris. I'm not lying. So,
oh, there's this question. I'll put it in the mailbag.
I was just very good at Tetris. So it's that was the game of Tetris that broke my R4 card from my Nintendo DS. So.
You had a what?
I mean, what I meant to say was...
we have employees.
It's Daniel. It's already out there.
Don't forget, one of our co-hosts literally works for Nintendo, Daniel. Don't get her fired.
And she had a hacked 3DS, so...
Oh, God.
No, I actually also later, because my R4 card broke, I was like, I'll just buy the game. So I did end up buying it, but...
Oh, you bought Tetris?
Tetris on the DS is very hard to come by because of all the distribution rights and legal stuff. Everyone should go watch the Gaming Historian's video about it. It's really fascinating, but there's a bunch of copyright stuff going on with Tetris, so who knows? Nintendo may not ever release like a proper Tetris game. Or they might. I don't know if they get that stuff worked out. But Dr. Mario is also a pretty fun puzzle game.
Yeah, it's like Tetris, but with pills.
Well, kind of, because Tetris... Dr. Mario is more like Puyo Puyo, where you've got to kind of do more of the color matching, rather than just filling the rows.
You gotta kill the viruses.
Yeah, exactly. And really, that many antibiotics would actually probably be terrible for you.
So what do you think this is? Like, it's Dr. Mario World? So do you think that just means like
Dr. Mario?
You'll be able to connect to other people in the world that are playing the game, so you can play against
probably
them?
do like 2-player online battles, like you can.
Since it's online, I think it
How much does it
it's
cost?
mobile, so it's.
That's a good question.
Do I need Nintendo Online to play this?
No, this is mobile.
So
you can play Dr. Mario with your Nintendo Online subscription.
Do you think that's what made them decide this? They released Dr. Mario on the Switch Online service and was like, wow, there's a lot of people playing this game. We can make a lot of money from this.
Dr. Mario,
and it's a really simple game to make. Like, we could literally release this in a week.
Maybe, yeah. It's free to download with optional in-app purchases. So great, because Mario Run was like free to play the first 10 levels, and then
so if I want to play as Dr. Luigi
for Mario Run,
it'll be $5.
Luigi didn't make it through medical school.
You're telling me there is not a Dr. Luigi?
There's not a Dr. Luigi. He flunked out, man.
What?
But he was more into the arts anyways, so he's tried to start a...
No, there is a Dr. Luigi. It's on Wii U.
No, he started a theater company.
No, it's on Wii U.
It's he started ranching. He took over Lon Lon Ranch.
Nope.
I thought he started ghostbusting.
That was later.
Here we go.
That was
guys.
that was never his intention. He just
Dr. Luigi.
It just happened. I don't like it. What?
There is Dr. Luigi.
Like, I mean, it's there, but I don't like it.
It's literally the exact same as Dr. Mario,
Dr.
on the NES.
Yeah,
For
there's no
SNES.
difference.
Oh, you
Also,
can
like,
turn your gamepad sideways on the Wii U.
Oh.
That's pretty cool.
No one, aside from like Nintendo Land, like there was no any reason to ever turn your gamepad sideways. But yeah, this is really just Dr. Mario, but with Luigi.
Yeah, it was that year of Luigi where they had like New Super Luigi U.
There is a Dr. Mario Miracle Cure, that it's Mario and Luigi doing medicine.
Oh boy. I feel like Dr. Luigi is like a black market doctor. Like he's
back alley doctor.
Yeah, like he's the kind of one, he opens his lab coat and he's just got like a kidney in a Ziploc bag. And he's like,
it's ready to go in.
He's the kind of doctor.
Oh yeah.
Because I seen this in a TV show. On the TV show Shameless. That's a really horrible TV show. But
yeah, don't watch it.
This guy goes in for a black market kidney transplant because his kidney's failing, and the doctor ends up...
Is Luigi?
No, the doctor, instead of giving him a new kidney, they just remove his liver. So like
What?
Yeah, they just like steal his liver and leave him with the dying kidney. So then he just has like 2 body parts that he needs.
That's not good.
Yeah. And then
that's not the kind of quality assurance I'm looking for.
And
that's not good for your health.
They go to they go to a restaurant to discuss the surgery, and it's like the woman and one of her friends, like whoever, I don't know, it's the woman, one of her friends, and they're paying the doctor to do the surgery, and they're meeting the doctor at the place, and the doctor's like at the very end of it, he's like, it'll cost 25,000 or 26,000, and they're like, we only have like 22,000 or whatever, and he's like, let me think about this, and he like pauses for about 10 seconds, and he's like, this is acceptable, and then he's like, if you look over here, this is our donor, and it's just this guy that looks like completely terrified, and like whenever they ask him his name, he just says yes.
Oh god.
In like a really scared voice, and then the doctor finally gets up after the meal, and he's like, all right, I need to get back, I have a taxi waiting on me, and he walks out the door, gets in the taxi, and he's the driver of the taxi. So like he wasn't a doctor, he's just like a black market taxi driver that's, yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. But that's Dr. Luigi.
That's totally whack.
That is Dr. Luigi. If I would you trust Dr. Waluigi more than Dr. Luigi?
No.
No.
Dr. Waluigi's in court for malpractice. Javier in the chat asks, shouldn't there also be a Dr. Wario? No. Dr. Wario is probably like a podiatrist. Like he specializes only in feet.
No, Dr. Waluigi. Dr. Waluigi is an animal doctor who has never had a successful surgery.
Oh no. Oh, Gibbs.
Why?
Gibbs posted this image, this cursed image of Dr. Waluigi. It's like, thanks, I hate it.
You're welcome.
Alright, do we move on now? We talked all about Dr.
Yeah,
Mario.
Dr. Mario World, guys, summer 2019. Same with Mario Kart. Great. Let's mosey on.
Hello everyone and welcome. I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse. Before we get to the rest of the Hylian Gamescast, we have something really awesome that you can help us with, and then we also have something that we can help you with. I completely botched that, but yeah. So here with us is Cliff, Daniel, and Gibbs. So we have a giveaway that we are doing. We're giving away signed copies of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Not signed by us, as amazing as that would be. I know you all would rather probably have that. But instead we are giving away a consolation prize. We're giving away signed copies of Breath of the Wild by Patricia Somerset, the voice of Zelda. Sean Chipluck, the voice of Rivali, the Great Deku Tree, and Tiba? Is that it?
Teba? Yeah.
Yeah.
Teba.
Because he voices all
Bird
of them.
guy. Birdman.
Other bird guy, yes. And then maybe other voice actors from the game. Like we've had Joe one, still kind of talking, working out a date. Like the other voice actors for like Mifa and Urbosa have agreed to come on the podcast, but they're super duper busy. So while they have agreed to come on, we still don't have a specific date for them. We don't even have a specific date for Patricia returning. We just know that she's going to be coming back in like a month or two, whenever that is. She's in the middle of recording or releasing whatever, her new album. So she's going to be talking about that. But she's also going to be the one selecting the winners of the giveaway. So in the description, I'll have a link to a Gleam IO giveaway. It's a great way to just consolidate a bunch of different things that you would need to do in order to enter this giveaway. But basically, on the Gleam, it'll have a few different links. One of the links, which will also have the link directly to the video below as well, will be to our last video with Patricia, to where you can comment a question for her, similar to the normal Zelda mailbag that we do. And when she comes back on the podcast, she'll go through, pick 5 or 10 of her favorite questions, answer them, and then after she answers all of them, at the very end of the video, she will pick one of the questions as her favorite, and whoever she picks will win the signed Breath of the Wild giveaway. We are also doing a giveaway for our Patreon supporters, so exclusively for people like Gus and some of the other people here that are supporters of us on patreon.com/GameOverJesse. And there's also a competition that you can help us with, which is, I already have a video kind of explaining it, but to go over it again briefly, there's a contest that Game Over Greggy or Kind of Funny, however you may know them, they basically all used to work at IGN. They were like the main podcast hosts and video news hosts at IGN before they decided to start their own YouTube channel and do their own news and everything. If you don't know who Greg Miller is, I don't know how you wouldn't know. He's probably literally the most famous video game journalist in the world. Think about it like, this is just a small example, but every year at the Game Awards, they always have like most popular gamer or something like that. And the very first year that they had the award, it was people like PewDiePie, Markiplier, other super duper famous people like that have like millions and millions of followers. And despite them having like tens of millions of subscribers on YouTube, Greg still won, even though at the time he had just started his YouTube channel and they had like probably less than 100,000 subscribers. Yet they were still able to beat out these people with millions and millions of subscribers, because all of their fans aren't 10-year-old kids that only care about Minecraft. They're actually people like us who actually have a passion for the gaming industry. So he was able to win because everyone voted, and yeah, it was really awesome. And now that his channel or their team is a lot more successful, they're doing something to where they're kind of giving back to their community. Whenever they first began Kind of Funny, I was lucky enough to have Greg Miller as one of my very first guests on my YouTube channel. I have no idea why he came on. I think around the time I had about 3,000 subscribers, which is far less than I do now. But he was nice enough to come on and talk. And we actually talked about Zelda Wii U as it was known back then, because it wasn't known as Breath of the Wild at the time. And so yeah, you can go watch those videos, but the point of this is they're doing their competition, and they're basically flying 2 people out. I think they're going to be picking 2 different YouTube channels. I don't know if they're just picking one person from each, or if they're like 2 people from each. There's different articles that I've read that have worded it different ways, but whichever it may be, you can go and vote. You fill it out. It's only 4 questions, basically asking you who you're voting for, why you're voting for them, what type of stuff they do, and then it asks for their like a way to get in touch with them. So like a Twitter or an Instagram or whatever, a link to something that they can actually use to get in touch with the person. There's been a lot of amazing people that have voted for me already, and a part of this segment was I posted a video earlier today saying that if you went and voted for me, shared it on Twitter or whatever, we would read it and basically give you a shout out. So to really quickly cover a couple of those, we'll save the rest for next week, because this podcast, it's really, really late, so I want to hurry up and get through this. But going through, the most recent we have here from Hylian Faye on Twitter. It says, "Why are you nominating them? Tell us what you love about them and their content." They say, "Jesse works day in and day out to bring his fans the highest quality news." Not true. I'm actually very lazy, but thank you. Quality news, podcasts, and discussion videos related to Zelda, as well as Nintendo and gaming in general. Jesse always responds to his fans when they reach out to him and does his very best to make time for anything that they may consider or any recommendations they may have. The next person is King Chess Gaming, who tagged all of us on Twitter with Kinda Funny Vids. Says, "You guys definitely deserve the win. You said you'd shout out, so my YouTube channel is Boundless Owl." So I guess he's doing this for the shout out, but either way, thank you, Boundless Owls. He says, "Why are you nominating them? They not only have an amazing podcast, but almost daily videos. They deserve much more than what they have in terms of viewership." And yeah, that's very simple for him. Another one, Andrew, or Fat Thumbs on Twitter. That's a very interesting username. Fat Thumbs says, "I nominate the group over at Game Over Jesse for 5, but very important reasons. 1, they're dedicated and passionate for their topics and craft. 2, they never spread misinformation or say do anything simply because it's easy." I guess that goes back to the video that we just did previously, where we actually talk about how horrible it is seeing the spreading of misinformation, like the article that said the new Zelda sequel was confirmed and then saying that it was possibly confirmed but was likely completely different. So it's like articles like that is what he's referring to. So it's kind of ironic, or not ironic, but a coincidence, I guess is a better word, for him writing that, because we literally just did a video on it. Number 3, their respect, camaraderie, and appreciation with and for their supporters and consumers of their content. They've never held themselves higher than any others, staying grounded and lighthearted. If there are any flubs, bloopers, and or mistakes, they'll all have a good laugh and just keep going." Joey just tweets at me and says, "You have my vote." That's Ferris Wheel Productions from Commonwealth Realm. We have Miss Click just saying that she gives her support as well. Matt Bloody Fatality says he doesn't really give out his thing. He just screenshotted showing that he sent the support. Amanda Van Heil, who is the news editor and news video host at ZeldaUniverse.net, tweeted, says, "Submitted my friend Game Over Jesse for the Kinda Funny Vids Game Over Greggy up-and-comer opportunity." Also, for those who don't know, Amanda was the co-host for our old podcast before the Hylian Gamescast. But that only had like 12 episodes, where this has had like close to 70 something.
Yeah.
But anyways, she says, "Jesse is hardworking, passionate about gaming, and overall just a great guy. So thank you, Amanda." I guess the very last one is Chicken Perm, because I like his name.
I love Chicken Perm.
Says,
"My nomination." Comes to all my streams.
He says, "My nomination for Kinda Funny competition is submitted, and it is an easy vote for Game Over Jesse at Kinda Funny Vids." He says, "Why are you nominating them?" He writes, "He covers beyond extremely well the greatest video game series ever in The Legend of Zelda. He has taken the time to converse with me on Twitter and provide advice. Very generous and kind soul. Funny guy too." So yes, there has been way too many to go through and read all of these. Maybe when the competition gets closer to being done, I can go through and pick out some of my favorites, because there are a few that don't just list me, but also name out Daniel and Chiblima and Ilya and say nice stuff about the entire team, not just myself. But maybe I can get some of those that talk about them, and then they can read it out on the next podcast when everyone is actually here. So thank you for everyone who has already submitted. If you haven't already submitted, there's a link in the description. You get an opportunity to get yours read out like this as well, and you also get a chance to make us incredibly happy. And we also get a chance to make you guys incredibly happy, because we are giving away the signed copies of Breath of the Wild, where if I end up actually winning, which I'm actually kind of afraid that they might say that I'm overqualified, because 75,000 subscribers might be too much. Maybe they're looking for someone around like 10 to 15. I don't know, but who knows? That is a possibility, that like whenever you go in for like a normal job, but then you have like manager or supervisor experience, and they're like, you're too qualified, we can't like let you bring yourself down to this level for this job. Like, I hope it's not something.
I think you maybe overthinking it. I'm
maybe.
Sure.
I'm just like thinking of like worst case scenarios. They're like, we were going to pick you, but you're doing too good of a job already.
Like, okay, like maybe like if they're wanting to promote like a really small channel or something.
Yeah. Well,
but I don't know. It's
the other side of this is like in the video they mentioned they're looking for someone who has experience and stuff because they're bringing the person out to be on videos with them. They don't want to get someone who they're going to bring out and then just like freezes up and doesn't know what to do at all. That's like barely knows basic video editing skills and stuff. So like there are people who are very experienced but don't have many subscribers. Like the Two Button Crew was one of my favorite YouTube channels.
They're good dudes.
They have very professional editing, very professional video equipment, a very professional set, very professional lighting, but they don't get nearly as many views as they deserve. They get like 100 views on each of their videos, where they do some of the best Nintendo videos that I have ever seen. And then there are people like myself, to where I just have a curtain thrown up as my backdrop with a messy desk, and for some reason I'm able to get awesome people watching. So that's basically what the competition is for. Please, if you haven't already, go vote for Game Over Jesse. So you wouldn't necessarily be voting for Daniel or Kayla or Ilya, which I guess you could, but
I guess I'd be flattered if we're nominated. But I fully, and I throw my support behind Jesse. I fully say if you're thinking about nominating anyone related to this channel, just throw all your support to Jesse. He is a huge fan of these guys. He deserves to go far more than I do. And he works way harder on all. I mean, this is his channel, obviously, so he works way harder on this than I do, right? So,
remember how excited he was looking for them at E3?
Oh yeah, and it was it was
then
adorable.
They got excited.
I loved it.
No, it wasn't just me getting excited to see them. When they seen me, they got excited to see me as well.
Yeah, and that was fantastic to see that. And just been like, hey, and then like their intro was their PR person and calling them over. This is Game Over Jesse. Just, it was great. And so yes, guys, vote for Game Over Jesse. I'm not just saying that because he's my BFF, but also because he really does deserve to go. If I'm being honest, so. If you're thinking, that Daniel guy's cool, I will not win. I don't win things like vote for Jesse. He has a chance. So
there's already been at least 30 to 40 people that I've seen vote for me, or at least have said they voted for me. Cliff was actually the person who introduced me to it, because he just tagged me in something, and I was like, oh, that would be cool.
I saw it in my feed, and I was like, you know what? Like, Jesse, he likes these guys. He should probably be invited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
And really quick, for the people that may also be fans of Kinda Funny or Greg Miller, obviously know his username is GameOverGreggy, which is what inspired mine. When I first started my channel, I just thought of a quick username based off of what was inspiring me, which also let people know exactly what the channel was about, to where like there are people whose YouTube channel or username or Twitch name or whatever has absolutely nothing to do with what they talk about. Like it'll be CalTaco504 as their username, just something completely random, and then they'll be talking about Mario videos. But how are you supposed to know that they talk about Mario when their username is like that? And then there are people that you come across like Chablima, who, or the old McIntyre. Originally McIntyre didn't want people to know his real name was Andy, but then he ended up letting people know, and then finally it was okay. Actually, I think like he let people know, and then he tried getting it to be secretive, and then he went back to letting people know. I don't exactly know what it was, but people like that, to where like McIntyre, like it was a mix of his last name with his friend who he started the channels with. Like they took both of their last names and like combined them to make McIntyre.
Because McIntyre is also a real name.
Yeah.
As well. So.
But. Yeah, so McIntyre, like no one was named McIntyre, and Andy was his real name. So, like, you wouldn't know what to call him if you met him in person, and then calling someone their username, like CalTaco504. Or like, I'm looking at another person who submitted a thing. His name is Kyogre's Hideout, a reference to the Majora's Mask fish boss. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but
George.
George, yeah. So it's like you wouldn't really know what to call them if you met them in person or if you were talking to them. So I tried thinking of something that told you what my channel was about, video games. So the game over part. It was a reference to the person who inspired me to make the videos, Game Over Greggy, and it also made use of my real name. So it wouldn't just be people confused on what to call me, they would actually know my name, the username, what to expect from the channel. It was literally the perfect username.
Your real name's in that? What?
Yeah, my name, it's Over.
Oh,
yeah.
That makes sense.
No, so, but yeah, that was the whole point. And whenever I had Greg on my channel, of course he knew about my channel long before he came on, because we were talking for a few months before he actually came on, because we planned it so far ahead of time. But whenever he was on, like there are a few people, I think it was like during the live stream or whatever, it's like, oh, what does Greg think about you stealing his name? And then Greg was like, no, I don't think that at all. I think it's awesome. Like if someone was inspired by what I did to pursue what made them happy, then I feel honored that I'm able to inspire people to do that. And
that's so wholesome.
So it's like,
I love that.
The people that...
There's also another video where he calls you a hack.
Well, that was a joke. That was
No, I know that was a joke. It's
us calling each other out for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which that story or that video is on the channel too. But it's basically
very funny.
We were both sent copies of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Nintendo Switch, like about half a month before the game actually released. It was when Nintendo would actually send review copies really early. Now it's like a day before the game releases, or a week before.
You have no time to do anything in the game.
Yeah, like we got Fire Emblem Warriors. I sent it to Daniel, the download code, like the day before. Was it the day of?
I think it was the day of its release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
very limited window to do anything with it.
Yeah, but anyways, Mario Kart 8 is most fun when you're playing online. And because it was an early copy, I literally knew no one who also had the game early. So I just sent out a message to him, just like, hey, there's no real competition for anyone to play online because I don't know anyone. I seen you had an early copy too, but I doubt you would be competition as well. And then we just like started this back and forth thing, and I got to a point to where he was in the middle of the kind of funny morning show, which they go over like any entertainment, gaming news early in the morning. And there's a segment that he did to where before he planned out the competition, we had the versus thing. There's a segment to where like it was basically, if anyone watches like any wrestling stuff, just like the basic wrestling promo where like you talk trash in a friendly way to the person and then they talk trash back, which is something that I don't do. So it was basically just him like tearing me down. And then we played Mario Kart and it was fun. But the video's on the channel, you can go watch it. It's really cool. But yeah, so he's done a few things on the channel. There's pictures and stuff that whenever we met up with them at E3 a few times, we sat and watched their GameSpot thing. But this is my chance to be featured on their channel. So I was super excited when Cliff tagged me in it, because I didn't even know it was an actual thing until he did, and I was like, oh, that would be cool, but it'll never happen. And then I seen it was a thing where people can vote for you, and I'm like, oh, maybe I actually have a chance at this. If I can convince every single 74,000 people that subscribe to me to go and vote, I might just win. But yeah, anyways, moving on to the Zelda mailbag. We will each take a question, everyone except me. So Daniel, Cliff, and Gibbs, because we're running on so late. So we're going to answer 3 questions. We had a question from the Man Cave boy, who donated earlier. So go ahead and read his as the first question, and then if there are Patreon supporters, we can read them as well.
Yeah, well, we've got I think we've got 3 Patreon questions as well.
Okay, then we'll do the 4
donated
questions.
Ones. So
yeah,
4 questions it is. Everyone else will have to wait. I'm sorry, everybody, but let's jump in there.
Well, it's
and it's a good time to mention.
AM, so.
Good time to mention when we're doing the Zelda mailbag. Sometimes this happens. We have too many questions, guys. And sometimes we just can't get to all of them because we talk too much, mostly that reason. So if you really want to guarantee that we're going to answer your question, go ahead to Jesse's Patreon, patreon.com, GameOverJesse, and for whatever you feel like donating, we'll make sure that question is going to be answered in our Zelda mailbag. And
yeah,
that's all I got to say for that.
Ilya in the chat says, why am I still up? So we can't answer that type of question, Ilya. It needs to be maybe more gaming related.
Yeah,
we can't comment on your own personal life, but you still, if you are awake, you still have a chance to join the mailbag and answer a question if you would like.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, we'll jump in with the Man Boy Cave, who donated earlier. Thank you, Mr. Man Boy Cave. Question is, with the rumors of more Nintendo games getting DLC, and if it's Breath of the Wild, would you rather play further as Link, bridging the gap until the next game, or play as Zelda after Link goes into hibernation?
The prior.
I'm gonna say the opposite. I'm gonna say play as Zelda because there's all this not destroyed yet Hyrule.
I want to play as Zelda after the game is beat. So like whenever they're going to check on Vah Ruta or whatever. What people thought the Champion's Ballad was actually going to be.
And then it wasn't.
Yeah, but that's what I want.
Exactly.
Give us like the Majora's Mask or Phantom Hourglass version to where the game just immediately picks up right after.
Yeah. Sure. I'm down. What do you guys think? Gibbs, Cliff?
Yeah, I agree with you, Daniel. I'd rather play as Zelda, right after Link goes into hibernation. That actually would be a lot better.
Woohoo! Just turn that light back on. Turn that back on right now.
Yeah, I think I'm with Cliff. I would like to play as Zelda, but I think I would like to play a storyline where Zelda is actually trying to get her powers awakened. I think that would be a better game overall than just trying to figure out what's wrong with the Ruta or any of the other divine beast for that matter. I think just the struggle, the internal struggle of Zelda, just as they show it in Breath of the Wild, was really good, and I think if we're able to explore that into its own standalone game and actually have a Zelda game, would be great.
Yeah, actually, I like what you said, Gib. Like that would actually be nice too, because in Breath of the Wild, there was a lot of cutscenes about Zelda trying to reawaken her powers, so that would be nice to see.
Yeah, no, and that would be a really cool kicking start, and also like a lot of games have like a growth plan. You know, you start as a weaker character and you get more powerful as the game goes on, and that would almost be a very good way to frame that growth plan for Zelda. to have it by the end of the game. You've got this power that you couldn't access at the start of it. So that would be cool. I agree.
And I actually, thinking back into it, a lot of this, the cutscenes that they show us are not necessarily Link's memory, or actually those memories where Link happens to be present.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. They're not really about Link. He's just kind of there.
They're always in the point of on her point of view. So
yeah, even the one where there's even one where he doesn't even show up till halfway through. Like memory where Zelda's being pursued by the Yiga clan, and then Link steps in and saves her. Half of that memory. Sorry,
she's being persecuted by Kermit.
By Kermit, yes. but they like Link doesn't even show up until like halfway through that memory. So it's like he's not even there for part of it. So how does he remember that? I don't know. Or is he just watching and he's like, wait for it?
Yeah, there's that other one where, or is it that one where she's like, why did my father send you? Like, I'm here by myself.
Yeah, that one too. Yeah, and he shows up partway through. But if this is his memory, like he wasn't there for a bit. I didn't even think of this until now. Nintendo.
2 years later.
It took me 2 years to realize that these are not Link's memories at all. Oh no. Oh no. Well, I think that wraps.
It's just what he assumed happened based off what he thinks someone may have told him at one point.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, she was probably, trying to use the Sheikah Slate on the thing. She said something about it. And then I got there, right?
Like, I vaguely remember someone mentioning something while I was sleepy. I don't.
Yeah.
It's like I think there was a talking tree, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, he's completely not there for that one, for the whole part of that one.
Yeah.
It's like someone told me the sword may have spoken to her, but never spoke to me, but...
Yeah. Oh, yes, well, next, shall we move to the next question?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
What's next? What's next?
Right, I got one. By Goron and the Mud. How is Rosso in relation to Darunia? I'm sorry. He looks like he's a Goron and Gerudo mix? ? Sorry for the spelling.
You guys were talking about this before.
So rephrasing the question, is Rosso from Link Between Worlds a mixed race, as in Goron, half Hylian, half Goron, half Gerudo?
Yeah, we had a kind of quick discussion about this when I was loading the mailbag up with questions here, and this is something, there's like this hot debate online, and I only just learned that there was this hot debate online about this.
We just learned this 2 hours ago.
We learned this. Gibbs found this whole like forum of just like texts of people supporting both sides of the argument of him being Goron or half Goron or Hylian with just references. It's like, it's a lot.
Yeah, debating from the whole point of like the way he dresses to the point is like, yeah, kind of seems like red hair. Gerudo have red hair.
Yeah.
Pointy ears, big burly man. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there was a lot of evidence either way. Like I think like if you really think of it from a lore perspective, the 7 sages in Ocarina of Time, Darunia was with the Sage of Fire, right? The 7 maidens in the Link to the Past were supposed to be descendants of those sages, even though they were all Hylian. And then the 7 sages in A Link Between Worlds were all supposed to be descendants of those maidens, including Russo. So I guess from that point of view, you could say that he maybe he is a descendant of Darunia. I feel like almost that though not actually necessarily a blood descendant, but
I mean, maybe
just sort of like a next generation of characters sort of descendant, but
yeah, kind of like the Rito and the Sora, kind of like a split of, maybe a branch of. They became more human. Like, I don't know.
But like we see Gorons later in that timeline, but then not in A Link to the Past or in A Link Between Worlds at all. And also, like, there's some people throwing out the ideas of like a mixed race, like mixed Hylian Goron, and I'm just like, how does that even really? Do Gorons even have genders in the same way that Hylians do? Like,
as weird as that is, we know the Hylian and Zora reproduce.
No, thank you.
Breath of the Wild, you literally have a quest to where like you have to get two people together. So
I don't like it.
It's very weird.
I don't want to think of
fishy
Lulu like that. In that position.
Oh. All right, Cliff, do you have an answer before we move to your question?
Yeah, I mean, I just looked it up online, and yeah, he does look like a Goron. Like more Goron than Hylian.
Yeah, but he could just be kind of like a. Also, he could just be seen as kind of a burly guy. Like if you had never seen a Goron and had only seen Hylians, you could look and be like, okay, he's just a beefy guy, I guess. Right? Like,
also,
I don't know.
Gorons don't have ears.
Gorons don't have ears. That's true, and he's got some big ears on that guy. And he's got like very red hair as well, which we never.
One of the points in the little discussion is the color of the painting would be some evidence that he's actually a descendant of Darunia. But aside from that, I mean, a painting, him being the sage, maybe, because most of the sages have been descendants of a previous sage. Most of them. So I don't know.
And he's got the Goron symbol on his belt buckle, but like he could just be a guy that just really likes Gorons, right? But he also could, I don't know. Like it's we were trying to find, Gibbs, you had said that you recalled some dialogue in the game, but I couldn't find anything that supported like it's saying whether or not he was Hylian or Goron in the game at all, personally. But
I'll replay that part of the game just because I want to know. I'm just curious about this.
We've unraveled a whole new mystery.
All right.
All right.
Cliff, do you have your question?
Yes, I do. I was looking in the Discord right now, and actually I found one that was really interesting. It's by Halo Justin 1, and his question is, what do you think?
I think he's a Patreon supporter for Ilya, the Geek Apprentice.
Oh, nice. He asks, what do you think an official Nintendo-made Zelda Metroid crossover would look like? That's not a fighting game.
He's got to stipulate that rule.
Very interesting. So, like, would it be like a Metroidvania, or would it be more on the Zelda side?
Zelda 2's dungeons were similar to the Metroid style levels, to where like you have to go get something and then you gotta back travel and then you gotta go to another place and then you can go, yeah. So and then well, like we talked a long time ago, if they remade Zelda 2 to look more like Metroid Samus Returns, to where they take like a 2D sprite game and make it like actual 3D models and everything, to where it's like Samus Returns on the 3DS, or like New Super Mario Bros, to where it's a 3D character model but it's played in a 2D style. So if they remade Zelda 2 like that, that would be really cool. So if they kept that design style, since it would match both Zelda and Metroid, maybe they could do something like that. I don't really know. Like maybe like on day 4 of Majora's Mask, that we don't ever get to see, like the day after the wedding.
Ship just lands
it just lands and is like, hey, was there like some people here that were like kidnapping your cows? Because we're looking for those aliens.
I was looking for those guys. Yeah.
I mean, it would be interesting. I mean, I know like a few years ago there was doubts about a Metroid Star Fox crossover.
Yeah.
That never actually happened.
That would
So
be cool.
seeing Metroid and Zelda crossover, that actually would be really interesting. So I
Do
don't
you
know
think- Do you think?
if Link will come over to Samus's world or.
Well,
the
do you
opposite.
think Link and Metroid would get along?
Hold on.
Like, do you think those two guys would even be friends with each other?
God.
I mean, they have a possibility.
Why did you get the name wrong? You know his name is
Oh,
Zelda.
sorry. Do you think Zelda and Metroid?
Zelda and Metroid.
Do you think
Zelda Metroid.
Those two dudes. Zelda and Metroid. Oh no. I Zelda in this as a series has sort of dabbled looking at
They've
like
dabbed?
future technology. They've
Oh, Daniel did it. Oh, he
like
actually did it.
there was the whole like concept art of there being like a UFO invasion in Breath of the Wild. And of course, we got the aliens from Majora's Mask, and Zelda 1 had concepts of doing like time travel and having computer chips instead of Triforce pieces and stuff like this. So, like, I guess it wouldn't be too crazy to think, this is a series that has like eye laser robots, a pretty commonplace in it. So I guess it wouldn't be too crazy to have like sort of a future-based Zelda game that could cross over. Maybe. But
No, okay, so imagine the side quest that they took out of Breath of the Wild, where all of the aliens are attacking. Do you remember the gameplay that they showed at GDC? Okay,
Yeah.
that ends with Metroid getting out of his ship and saving Link from saving Zelda from all of the aliens that were attacking during those explosions and stuff. And the jellyfish in like Jabu Jabu's belly and some of the other dungeons, those jellyfish enemies look a lot like those enemies from the Metroid games. I can't think of what they're called, but they look very similar. Those weird jellyfish
so
enemies.
that's why Lord Jabu Jabu is in the adult timeline, because Metroid went in there and started killing all the jellyfishies.
Yeah, all the Samuses.
That's what they're called.
Wouldn't it be Samusai?
Samus, yeah. It's was one Samus. Multiple Semi.
Who's Sam?
Samosas?
Oh my god.
Samosas are delicious.
Marsupial Gamer says Mocktroids.
Mocktroids are the clone jellyfish in Super Metroid. Oh boy, I'm
Alright.
sore. I'm
Daniel,
hurting.
what's the last question?
I'm hurting right now. Okay. Jonathan, who is a great supporter of us,
He drew us pictures.
he drew us awesome pictures, which are on great T-shirts you can get.
Good night, Manboy Cave.
Good night, Manboy. Jonathan asks, what about a Zelda game that actually has an end game? Have we ever had one of those? I love Breath of the Wild and Link Between Worlds, but I was pretty disappointed to have no end game. I think referring to post-game content, such as you would see when you beat Mario Odyssey. There's a lot of post-game there, or Pokemon usually is a very good post-game. That kind of thing where after you finish the game, the Ganon, let's suppose he stays dead, but you can continue playing and exploring Hyrule and something after he's dead.
Justin's in the chat. We answered your question a second ago, Justin.
Justin!
Hey,
I hope you liked your question. But yeah, I don't think there has been any Zelda game yet that has any post-game content. And I expected the Champions Ballad to be just that. I think we all did a little bit, and then it wasn't. But we've yet to see that.
Oh.
The jellyfish attacked the army of Tiny John Cena's.
Okay, so
Abigail.
there are two things I can think of with this. Well, three things. A version of the Ura expansion was going to be a post game. Andrew brings up the Oracle games, which is another thing that I was thinking of because you use the passwords to put them together to get a new ending.
Right. To get an extra.
A Link to the Past, I believe, added in the colored dungeon on the Game Boy Advance.
Right. So I've only ever played the Super Nintendo version, not the Game Boy Advance version.
It adds in all of the sound effects from Ocarina of Time.
Yes, that's why I hate it.
And it
I actually can't stand. I can't stand. Well, screen crunch bothers me already, but also adding those sound effects. Like Link swings his sword way faster in A Link to the Past than he does in 3D Zelda games. So it just is just bad. It doesn't fit. It's bad to have those voice clips.
So you mean to tell me
you didn't
that
have
version is the re-release of the original Star Wars on DVD?
Yeah, where they just like added things that were completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
And you're like, why did you put this in? This was a masterpiece. How it was. The color or the dungeon's not bad, but like the extra sound effects and stuff like that is like.
The voice actor was probably happy because he's like,
yeah.
I get paid for 2 games and I don't have to re-record anything.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. He still hasn't had to re-record anything for even Smash Ultimate. So they're still using those same voice clips from the 90s. So
it's like Mr. Mario.
I think they every now and then they get new clips from him.
When he had to do Waluigi.
But apparently, there's that. The person who does voice for Yoshi recorded voice clips in the 90s for Yoshi's Story. And they just reused those voice clips until Yoshi's Woolly World. And he went back and recorded more voice clips for Yoshi. But until then, they had just, for everything Yoshi, they had just reused that same library of voice clips.
Why didn't they get you to record the voices?
I don't have the range for that.
You could do Wayoshi.
I don't even know how that would sound. I can't. My brain tried to do both. Like
or would it be
Waluigi, Yoshi at the same time.
Would it be Woshi?
Washi.
Washi. Washi.
Like,
oh gosh. All right. Let's end it, guys. Let's end it. We've been going on for like 3-4 hours.
I'm broken.
3 hours. So
anyway, I guess the Oracle games had some post game. But other than that, yes, post game is good. I would like that. That's my answer.
Same. I would like to see post game because I feel like in like most of the games, for example, like Ocarina of Time, it would have been nice to like seeing some like post game content. Like I know like Zelda tells you, yeah, she's gonna send you back 7 years, but it would have been kind of cool to like actually see post game stuff happening after that happened.
I agree.
Cliff,
I agree.
Who are you, Cliff? What are you doing here?
He's just Cliff.
Yeah.
Where could people possibly maybe find you?
You can find me on Twitter at JustCliffTwitch or on twitch.tv/JustCliff. I do gameplay streams every week. It changes sometimes, but that's mainly what I do right now.
Alright.
Yeah.
Daniel, who are you?
I'm Washi.
Oh no! What are you doing here?
Okay. I'm Daniel. Dang podcast thing apparently. You can, if you feel so inclined to listen to me talk about things or whatever, for some reason you're interested. I don't know why. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram and on Twitch, all at Capt Burgerson, CaptBurgerson. My username was not as well thought out as Jesse's was, as we learned earlier. I stream on Twitch typically once or twice a week on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. So feel free to tune in there. We are actually playing through Blossom Tales. We're almost done there, and then we'll jump into some more.
And we have
great
the creator coming on the channel soon.
Yeah, he came on my last
Yeah.
Blossom Tales stream actually, and it was really awesome.
I was in the middle of a conversation with him, and you were streaming, so I was like, hey, you know.
Well, what do you know? I love that game. Yes. You can also check out my YouTube channel, which is NSHG Film, which you've probably seen me in the chat there. I don't post very many videos very often, though, so don't get your hopes up. And also, I have a website, burgersonmedia.com, or maybe it's Burgers on Media. But I post whatever else I'm working on, whatever other miscellaneous projects. If you want to maybe see if you need some help editing or making some new assets for your YouTube channel or whatever, hit me up. Check them out. There's some like demo reels and stuff on there. So that's who I am. That's me. Thank you. That's all. That's all.
Is it your turn, Gibbs?
That's it, Jesse.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Gibbs.
is it my turn?
Gibbs.
No. Gibbs.
Mine. All right, well, guys, I am Gibbs, Mr. Gibbs on Twitter. You could find me, or on Twitch. I've been working things out to try to see the green screen and
You
all
got
that
some
stuff.
wood today.
Yeah, need to make a desk.
Good wood.
But, oh God.
How are
Anyway.
you building your desk?
Oh, it's gonna be mounted to the wall, so
Are
it's
you-
just gonna have.
Oh, nice.
So you're building your desk for your streaming setup.
Well, it's for my computer, period.
Yeah.
But
Are you going to stream the building of
Ma-
the desk? So
No,
like
I'll
some
probably not.
stream deskception.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I already started anyway.
Womp womp.
So yeah, you can find me on Twitch as the Mr. Gibbs, THE Mr. Gibbs, with a Z at the end. And yeah, or I'm also a admin mod in the Game Over Jesse Discord server, so you can find me there. I'm always active, and you could find me there at me, and we can talk or whatever. I never turned out a good conversation, so yeah.
Yeah, alright.
Yes.
For everyone watching live, I just posted a Discord link for all of you to join. Earlier, while everyone was talking, I posted everyone's Twitter links. You can find Chablima on Twitter as well. And you can find Ilya, who was here earlier, the Geek Apprentice, on her own YouTube channel, where she did a live stream right before we did, actually. She has other cool videos that post every week, I believe. Yeah. And then for everything with me, you can... Yeah, like literally everything is /GameOverJesse. Facebook.com /GameOverJesse is our Facebook fan page, is what Facebook calls it. I feel odd calling it a fan page, but there's a little more than 7,000 of you that like it, so thank you for that. We have the Discord for you to join. I just posted a link, so if you want to chat with any of us, we are always on there. That's probably the place that we update the most for if we go live or something. And Twitter, Instagram, everything else, Twitch, YouTube, everything is /GameOverJesse. But the important link is the one that I'm posting right now for you to go and vote for me. And if you take a screenshot of your vote, send it on Instagram or Twitter or something, we will read it on the next podcast, give you a shout out, and like retweet or whatever. So yeah, thank you And Justin says every Wednesday and Saturdays the Geek Apprentice posts videos. Yeah,
Yes.
so Wednesday and Saturdays you can go check her out. She's asleep right now, so be quiet. No, I think that's everything. I don't really know what else to say. Sorry for skipping the podcast last week. We all got busy, and then
Yes.
more
We were
busy.
all bad.
Luke joins at the very end. Go away, Luke.
Hey, Luke. Bye.
Thanks for joining at the very end. Thank all of you
Bad timing.
who stayed the 3 hours with us to listen to us ramble about Metroid and John Cena, pumpkins and Koroks and everything else at 2
What a
in the
wild
morning.
ride.
So thank you guys. Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Gibbs. Thank you, D-Man. We're out.
Bye.